right there, Deb. Debbie. You can sit right there. I'm saving.
Good evening, everyone. It's officially 7 o'clock, and my name is Vernon Burton. I'm the mayor here, and we're going to open up our meeting. We have first our call to roll. Zone 1. Present. Zone 2. Here. Zone 3. Here. Zone 4. And the mayor is here.
that he said that means a whole lot to us is, he said, the more places one visits and the more people one connects with, the broader one's understanding, acceptance, and relationship with others develops. This is especially true for those whom, like our family, have served in the military in different places, all over this world. Different places, same people. With these thoughts in mind, let us join our march together as we pray. Ever notice how we can travel to different cities, states, Ever notice how we can travel to different cities, states, even countries, and still gravitate toward the same kind of people that we left back home? Help us face it, O God, that we all tend to feel more comfortable with persons who fit a certain profile in our minds, and that these are the people that we seek out, no matter where we go, often to the exclusion of others. Could this explain why cultural diversity and intercultural exchange need intentional effort? Could this have anything to do with the demonization of Muslims by some Christians, or the attacks upon transgender people by some cisgender persons, or the disdain for Hispanic immigrants by some Americans, or the fear of diversity by some politicians, O Lord? Some of us only build community with our own kind, but we thank you, God, that there are others of us who see you or your Son Jesus in strangers as much as we see you in our own kin. Help us now to be sure that whenever we break down the barriers that separate us from others and promote human unity in the midst of cultural diversity, that you always have a hand in it. Lord, we thank you for sending us to so many different places. Now, please help us to encounter you and embrace you in the faces of all the people who seem like strangers to us. Amen. Amen.
What I want to talk about is code enforcement, or lack thereof. We have the villas, we have the Woods of Lake Helen. Everything's perfectly nice. I mean, it's like walking into a different town. You come into the main town where people come to live, and guess what? There is no code enforcement. People just come and throw their stuff everywhere they want to, park 3 trucks, one with wheels, 2 others without wheels, in their front yard. And I've talked to the mayor, I've talked to my commissioner, I've talked to city administrator. They're giving me some hope because they're getting down the right end. And that's get somebody for a day or 2 a week that doesn't live here, that doesn't have ties to someone that lives here, come in and do it. I can do it in a day. I do it walking down the street, there's just billions of code cracks. So, I would like the commissioners who got elected by these people out here to do something about it. Push it happen, make Jim's thing happen. That's it.
Thank you,
I
Jeff.
got 3 other things, but I'm not gonna talk about them tonight.
Okay, so, Louis?
Mike's on this time. Back again. Louis Long, 176 North Euclid Avenue, Lake Helen. I had the basic comments written before my wife showed me Karen showed me the article in the Beacon. Jim is going to continue on, so I did a couple of adjustments in the tense here, but this is the way what I have. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner, staff, one and all. I am here this evening to offer my support and encouragement for our city administrator, Jim Gleason, for continuing in this position. His non-biased research and cooperation with vital partners, and most importantly with and for you, our staff, and the citizens of Lake Helen, working together to drive the necessary innovation which is now more important than ever to help sustain our future. My family and I, along with many in our community, have had concerns about the future sustainability of the support needed to aid Jim in these endeavors to allow him to do what we hired him for. After much vetting and interviewing before we brought him on board as our best choice to be our city administrator. Our connections and sense of importance regarding Jim's position have been strained, due in large part to those whose opinions and reality can be a double-edged sword. People can bring their opinions to this conversation, though opinion and reality don't always dance well together. We have faced and will continue to face complex problems in our fair city which have changed at an astonishing rate. But it takes a foundation of experience along with the nimble freedom within that framework to change the rules and guidance which Jim is astutely providing. Ladies and gentlemen, good things don't just happen. Better, more efficient ways to do things don't either. It takes thoughtful analysis on a problem and the ability to respond to the problem with viable data from reliable research. It would be nice to think that we could take that for granted, but we can't, and we shouldn't. Let's please do everything we can to encourage and support our city administrator, Jim Gleason, to hang in there and help guide this community into a bright and sustainable future. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Sean Abshire.
John Abshire, 235 East Ohio Avenue. As all of you know, I'm a former Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year for Volusia and Flagler counties. I've attended many of the Boys and Girls Club events even after my tenure as Youth of the Year, and still do. This year, as it's on your agenda tonight, I'll be attending the annual gala, as I have in the past, as an alumni of the organization. I'm able to invite 5 guests to join me. In the past, I've brought guests such as my family and friends. This year, I want to do something a little different. Some of you were on the commission when I was recognized as Youth of the Year. Some of you are newer and weren't. With all the division we see in our country, I see no better way to show unity and support for an organization that brings so much positivity into our communities and shapes our youths, including right here in our gym, than to invite the entire City Commission to join me at this event as my guest. By being guests, the city will not have to expend any money, taxpayer money, if the commission decided to go to this event. I hope you will all consider this and let me know as soon as possible if you want to attend so I can RSVP all the seats. Thank you very much.
Melinda Delano? Delano? All right.
Hello, Melinda Delano, 390 North High. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Our voices should be heard. I come here tonight hopefully to see some changes in our and do right, and the people who are put in places should do right by them. And we all know that not everyone is going to be happy. That is a given. But understand that when we come to you, and with our personal lives, it's not coming to you personally, because I don't know any of you personally. But I'm coming to you as leaders of our town. And that you should be fighting for us, not for what you should be fighting for us besides that, and pushing aside all other things. Now, this is my perception, only my perception of what I can see in front of me to be true. Again, my perception, and perception is a wide spread of every one of us, because you have a perception of me, I have a perception of everyone else. Now, what I see and what I have seen is what my perception is of the commissioners is not truly hearing what is being said to them by the people. My perception is the commissioners seem to bicker between each other a lot. Commissioners do not visit the people who are in their zones that they have been assigned to. Not saying that has to be done all the time, but it should be done once in a great while. Commissioners that vote to keep them vote no, to keep themselves out of trouble and not taking a stand, or even yes, for that matter. So some commissioners are not prepared for meetings prior to, and not just sitting there listening to, or not with a face that is like you're just looking through us instead of at us. You talk about a team, but I'm not sure you completely understand what a team is. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. This is my perception. Yes, a team, to understand. Stop using any kind of race card, either whether you're, whatever it is. Stop using that wherever we are, whatever we do. I don't care what you are, I don't care what race, creed, gender, doesn't matter to me. I don't care, because you're people. People are people, and that's the way God made us, wherever we are. Stop seeing everyone as, I didn't want to use this word, but as stupid, but we're uninformed. If that is the case and we're uninformed, please enlighten us. Please enlighten us.
Thank you. We're going to have to give you 3 minutes.
I know, but I'm gonna finish.
You have 3 minutes.
I know.
Already you used 3 minutes.
But this is the problem. I understand that, and I understand there's a lot going on here. But I do want to finish that this
had the opportunity to come to City Hall and speak to him, or even one of their commissioners, because between last month and this month, I hadn't, I don't know what had transpired, but evidently you have some information that might be helpful and maybe can give more, he's in the office every day.
We've been communicating, but I can't give it a definite answer on my own because we gotta do it as a group.
Right. Nancy Weary?
I'm going to pass out of respect for our
Excuse me?
guests. I'm going to pass out of respect for our guests.
Okay, fine. That ends our public forum. We are now moving into the agenda, and the item that is in sixth place is the Boys and Girls Club celebration of children gala. Would the Boys and Girls Club come up, and you have more than 3 minutes, sir.
Too long.
Yeah. Good evening. I am Justin Sanders. This is Yvette Roman. She kind of let me take the lead on this one. Chances are you've probably seen us around if you've been here long enough in Lake Helen. Work at the local Boys and Girls Club. We are here to just talk about some information about our upcoming gala that Sean brought up. Before I delve into those details, just a quick little background. We serve roughly 70 to 80 kids a day during the school year for no cost. And a lot of that no cost aspect comes from fundraisers like this one. This particular event is a kind of a fancy dinner where donors pay for tables at a restaurant in a very fancy, well-constituted hotel-like clearing. People pay for seats or tables there, and then they get to sit down with club members at these clubs and have conversations with them, and really get just a one-on-one or two-on-two kind of conversation about their actual club experience. It's probably one of our most impactful events because again, you get to actually talk to the same members that we bring up. So we're just wanting to raise some awareness about it. If you would like to either pay for a table,
Yes. Tickets start at $200 per seat, and then it goes up. You can visit us at bgcvfc.org to get some more information. We have been in the community for about 20 plus years. Thank you, Lake Helen. We love working with our kids, we love working with the community. And this again is to showcase our kids, what we do, and there's so many ways that you can give back to us, and we just want to share that information with you all.
On to the presentation, any commissioners would like to have weigh in?
And it's going to take place next Friday, May 16th, 6 p.m. The reception will start at the Hilton in Daytona. So again, check us out online. And even if you cannot attend, you can definitely, there's other ways that you can find out information about us, and you can give online on our website. And we'll see you all within the city. And again, we love working with your kids and working with you. And thank you, Lake Helen, for having us for so many years
yes.
and supporting us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now we're going to get into our proclamations, and I'm going to read them as we present them. The first one is the Gay Pride Month. June 19th, 2025. Whereas the month of June is recognized as Gay Pride Month, a time to honor and to celebrate the resilience and achievements and the contributions of the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and queer community, LGBTQ. Whereas the LGBTQ community continues to fight for equal rights, visibility, acceptance, striving for a society where love and dignity are not limited whereas Gay Pride Month commemorates the Stonewall riots of June of 1969. This was a pivotal moment in LGBTQ history, which ignited a global movement for the equity, freedom, and justice. And whereas the LGBTQ community has made significant contributions in every aspect of our society, from the arts, the culture, to politics, science, and education, enrichment, and enriching the fabric of our nation. And whereas it is essential to recognize the ongoing struggles for equality and to stand against discrimination, bigotry, and violence, to ensuring that every individual, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, is treated with fairness, respect, and dignity. And whereas Pride is a celebration of self-love, community, and collective actions to build a world where everyone can live and authentically without fear or prejudice or persecution. So now, therefore, I, Vernon Burton, the mayor, hereby proclaim that the month of June 2025 is Gay Pride Month, and encourage all citizens to join in recognition of the rights and dignities and contribution of the LGBTQ community and individuals. So let us come together in unity and support the celebration of love to all its forms, and witnesses thereof, I hereto set my hand upon this seal of 8th of May, 2025. Before you leave, we have a proclamation from the city. Does anyone like to come up and receive it? Robin's going to take a picture. Okay, all right, man. Take somebody hold it. Okay? And while I'm up here, so we have a couple other proclamations to give. Juneteenth. I have more of these made up and bring them to the African American churches. I can bring them to all of them, just for the purpose of this, I'll read this proclamation. Whereas Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration of the ending of slavery, and whereas on June 19, 1865, a Union Major General, Gordon Granger, proclaimed that the war had ended and the slaves were free. Whereas that proclamation took place 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, which was officially signed on January 1st of 1863. Whereas Juneteenth is a time for celebrating freedom and encouraging self-development and respect for all cultures. Whereas the African American community gather with loved ones and celebrate with prayer, guest speakers, barbecue, parades, dancing, rodeos, fishing, picnics, and baseball. And whereas the state of Texas declared June 19th a legal holiday in 1980, and since that time, Juneteenth celebrations have grown across the nation. And whereas the citizens of Lake Helen continue to celebrate mostly in church with family and friends, and now therefore, the City Commission of the City of Lake Helen hereby recognizes the importance of Juneteenth in our community. A testimony hereof You acknowledge hope. Along with the Juneteenth, the end of May. Oh, yeah, hold up, President. The end of May, which is the Veterans Day. Every year, the African community goes out to our cemetery, which is the Suba Memorial. It's a cemetery that was at one point was a part of the city of Lake Helen, but when they widened I-4, they decided it wasn't important enough to bring it onto this side of the community. So it is not a part of our city, but the African Americans that are born there, that are buried there, are citizens of this city. So we give acknowledge to them. So if you don't have anything to do, May 30th, come on out to Suba Memorial, and what we do is that we clean off the graves. The graves are in sarcophagus, and we rake the leaves and cut back off some of the weeds that are there. There are many of them that we do have them taken care of. So, you want to add anything to that? Thank you.
What time? 7 o'clock.
In the morning, in the AM, or just too light. Okay? Thank you. Vaughn, I'm going to set you up. Okay, give me a second. I'll read this one, then you're up. Okay? This is the proclamation for recognizing that May 2025 as National Mental Health Month. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all people experience times of difficulty and stress in their life, and mental health challenges are common and treatable, and whereas 1 in 5 people will experience mental health conditions in any given year, but stigma and lack of access often prevents individuals from seeking help. And whereas early identification and effective treatment of mental health conditions can lead to improved outcomes and quality of life. And whereas the City of Lake Helen recognizes the importance of community awareness and access to mental health resources and supports local organizations working to improve mental health services. And whereas Mental Health Month provides an opportunity to reduce stigma, to educate the public, and advocate for policies that will support individuals and families impacted by mental illness. Now, therefore, I, Vernon Burton, Mayor of the City of Lake Helen, Florida, on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as Mental Health Month in the City of Lake Helen, and encourage all residents understanding and support of mental health services, and to foster community that embraces mental health wellness. Would the City Commission like to stand with me with this? This is our commission. We are supportive. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that would be fine. Watermelon? Did you say that? Thank you. If you see the red poppies, I'm going to read the proclamation, and Ron's going to have something to say. Would you like to read it?
Whereas a nation at peace must be reminded of the price of war and the debt owed to those that have died in war. Whereas the red poppy has been designated as a symbol of sacrifice of lives in all wars. And whereas the American Legion Auxiliary has pledged to remind Americans annually of this debt through the distribution of the memorial flower. Therefore, the city of Lake Helen, Florida, do hereby proclaim this 24th day of May, 2025, as Poppy Day, and ask that all citizens pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom by wearing the memorial poppy on this day. In witness whereof, he has here on two set his hand and caused to be affixed this official seal of the Lake Helen in Lake Helen, in the city of Lake Helen in Lake Helen, Florida, this 8th day of May 2025. Okay, so we just have one more little thing going on, because that's important. Every bit of that proclamation is true. Thank you very much. Y'all hear that? Is that good? Our American Legion and our American Legion Auxiliary in Lake Helen need volunteers. We need members. I know y'all probably hear me say it every year, but we're the last generation. And we need some of y'all to step up. If you're veterans, join the post. If you want to volunteer and help out on behalf of veteran families, join the auxiliary. I'm going to be honest, we got like 6 or 8 of us out of the whole city on Lake Helen that, is trying to do as much as we can for child welfare, for veterans education, veterans rehabilitation. Even here now, it's known townwide. If you need a wheelchair, if you need bath equipment, if you need something, the American Legion would be who you'd go to. But I'm just saying, we need members. If y'all know anybody coming home or families that want to be part of the veteran family, don't hesitate to send them in our direction. Okay, and I go like this because that's Roger, our commander, even though he's your commissioner. All right, I won't play on your heart much longer. The meeting dates are the 3rd Monday of every month, okay? That's a 7 p.m. meeting. They've got bingo if you want to go play bingo every Thursday and every odd Saturday.
Every Saturday.
Oh, every Saturday, 1 to 4. They've got a breakfast 2nd Saturday of the month, and all your proceeds go back into the veterans. My husband said, "Where? Where?" And he said, "It's like we're just feeding an empty bucket. We're always asking for money." I said, "Clint Russell." Because I know where, and the auxiliary knows where, and the people that take care of their business in the Legion, they know where. But it is mainly the disabled veterans, or even veterans in our community. Sometimes, we want to go and hand them a Thanksgiving dinner. Sometimes we want to send them to Walmart and go shopping. Sometimes we'll do children's programs. We do things for different holidays and stuff. But it goes back into our town veterans. It goes to Orlando veterans. It goes to Jacksonville veterans. And then children's scholarship. Just out of nowhere, we had a kid that was a good little kid. She's graduating. She's going to college, and they all got together and said, "Let's give her some money to go to college." But it's right here in the community first, and then it's nationwide where your proceeds go. So now you know where. Okay.
Does your husband know where, though?
Hey, he knows more than he needs to know. Don't he? That's why he talks more than I do. And I love him. All right, so you guys got these poppies spread out in the audience, and we got a little jug out in the back, you know.
And there's more out
And there's more out there. Only a paper poppy. Only some paper petals with 2 leaves of paper too. Only a paper poppy. Does it mean anything more to you? The red is for courage of the men who fought and bled and then came back to spend their days in the ranks of the living dead. The green leaves remind me of the sunny hillsides over the sea, where the rest of the war-torn bodies of those who died, that war might cease to be. The cup that is formed by the petals, it stands for a labor of love, whose value can never be told, only a paper poppy, but it holds the hopes and the fears of numberless of men and women and their loved ones as they carry on through the years. So happy Memorial Day from your American Legion, Post 127 and Unit 127. Thank you. Sorry about that. Here we go. 'Cause y'all help us out a lot. I really appreciate it, Commissioner. And I appreciate the way y'all listen to me. And I appreciate that I can walk in any one of y'all's office and talk to you. But I haven't met this gentleman right here yet. How you doing? I'm good. Okay. Bless your heart. Here's your coffee. All right. Thank you. Oh.
Right in the middle, Bob.
Okay. There you go. Mayor, you and Mayor.
That okay, you want to say that this is right?
It's whatever you, I appreciate this, y'all, thank you.
You look this way, Bob?
That one. Don't get no crazy, saggy, nothing underneath my chin. Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, while they're leaving. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. Oh, where's it done?
Oh, he wants to say something.
One thing,
Yes.
I'm surprised sometimes how many veterans have not visited the Veteran Services Office in DeLand to help them, and the Legion sponsors them, because it's amazing how many veterans are able to have help and disability. One thing, almost every veteran will get a 10% for tinnitus, like I have. They send you for a hearing test, you know, I can hear but have tinnitus. So many of these things, and they come later in age, but they're related to your military service. So that's
That's
the
right.
point. Just please
Yep.
go, if you know a veteran who hadn't gone to the service officers and applied for any kind of disability to see what they may be eligible for, contact the Legion. They represent most of us. And
That's right.
thanks for letting me
Thank you.
say
Thank
that.
you.
All right, here the
Now we come down to our part of the meeting, and our city administrator give us an update on what's going on with the building.
This is from the committee, Mayor, that
Yes.
you guys are talking about, so
Okay.
they're talking about what they want to do.
While he's coming up, I really am, I'm sorry to, buddy, would you come here for a second? Would you come in?
You're gonna come forward something?
No. Cookie, I wanted to always like to acknowledge our former mayor, Buddy Snowden, former vice mayor, Mr. Ann Robbins, and of course, y'all know this guy.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. That's all I want to acknowledge you guys. All right, quick.
Name's Alan Cook, 792 Oak Tree Lane. Concern,
Cookie, the mic up.
Hold the mic too.
There you go.
Turn it on.
But
you have to read, but does that sound better?
you good.
Now I feel more important.
You look more important.
Anyhow, as a concerned citizen, and there's a lot of things I get concerned in, and that building down the street is one of the biggest ones. I gotta mention a certain person's name, and that is, he's not with us anymore, Mr. Tony Troy. Because let me tell you something, that man was behind, every time we wanted to do something down that building, he was there. I spent a lot of time with him down there in the stairs and this and that and everything else. And I haven't mentioned it. He spent a lot of time and he was very concerned on what happened in the city. I had to mention that. Then, when the building was sitting there and all this time, actually Tony and me went up in this thing about 2 years before he passed away. But anyhow, when the bids came up for doing something with the building, because it just kind of annoyed me to have the building sitting there and everybody complaining about it. The mold, this, that, and there, should we tear it down? Should we do this? Should we do this? Should we move down to the, everything was this and that. Well, when the bids finally came out, and this gentleman over here, but anyhow, he said to me, he said, Cookie, he said, you're not gonna believe this. One of the bids was $1,300,000, right? And then the other one was $1 million something. And then there was one for $875,000, but it didn't include a lot of the stuff that we were doing and everything. And I said to him at the time, I said, that's utterly ridiculous. Just to get this mold out of here and fix our building up, you know. Well, thank God there was 2 other citizens that thought the same thing I thought of. When I made a statement about it, was talking about it and everything else, both of those citizens came to me and said, you know what, I mean, that's ridiculous. It shouldn't cost us that much to just get this building fixed and everything. Well, at that time, it felt really good to have somebody else that was concerned just like I was about our town building. And those 2 gentlemen, and one of them was, oh, now he's sitting back there, come on up here. Angelo and Mark Shuttleworth. He can't be here tonight, he apologized for that, his wife's very sick and everything, but he wanted me to let you know that he was concerned. This gentleman and Mark came to me and said, Cookie, we can do it for a better price and we can get it done. And then I said, that sounds good. And then we started working with Jim Self and stuff on where we were going and what we were doing and everything. What's character? What, are you a contractor, sir? And he came up with some pretty good ideas on different things. And at that time, we really didn't know exactly what we'd have to do to make this thing work. And then as we got into it, it was the mold thing and everything else. Well, we had 3 mold inspections, Jim? It was 3, wasn't it? 4? Yeah. 4 inspections about the mold, and I was there for 2 of them. Met the gentleman who was very, very smart on what was going on with mold and everything else. So I spent time with that and everything. And come to find out, believe it or not, it wasn't as bad as it was supposed to be. Let's put it that way. And then we had to do 4 inspections. 1, and then waited another couple months, did another one. We kept doing them until we could really figure out, when it came down to it, what was really had to be done and everything. And so in the meantime, Angelo got involved with it and stuff. And then we found out that our biggest problem with the whole building with the mold was the air conditioning. And the 3 air conditioners were down in the basement. And after the storm, I went down there. And believe it or not, there's this much water around the air conditioners, which was pulling all that moisture into the building. So our big problem was, we found out Angela's assistant with his friend is that he had, it's in the air conditioning, he came up and looked and said, and then we started looking in the meeting room, and every one of those ducts had mold all around it. And the more we looked into it, the more we found out that that was the problem with the air conditioning, the movement of air. So we ended up, broken him and stuff, and we decided that we were gonna see if we could get a company to come in and give us an investigation or evaluation on what it would take to clean this place up. And then we got, what was the first company? First company was Safe Pro?
Safe Pro was who the commission authorized to do it.
Yeah, but the Safe Pro was the first one, but we had another one with that. Anyhow, Safe Pro came in, gave us a price. I'll be honest with you, I was very, very surprised. That's what you voted on that night, to move forward and get this building done, which I really, every one of you, I appreciate it very much so. Yeah, we're at least moving forward now, we're on the road, let's put it that way. Now, in the meantime, we found out with the air conditioners being down the basement, this and that and everything else, Angelo says to me, Cookie, I think we can solve this. So I'll let him tell you what we discovered with the air conditioning in the basement.
I should have talked about this in the last council meeting that I came to. Down in the basement, those AC units are completely shocked because there's so much water down there. All the units are just sucking up hell of water and any moisture that we all know. This is Florida, you're not supposed to have a basement. You know, up north, where I come from, we have basements all the time. Moisture down here, the water level down here, you're gonna get water. You have a pump down here that's, I guess it broke.
Yes, and then we fixed it. We got
Yes,
another one.
so within that time, the water came in and all that good stuff. You actually have areas where the downstairs area was actually stuck up. And if you break a piece apart, there is mold behind that stuck up. So that area is a contaminated area, it really is. The easiest way to solve the problem without tearing everything out from the city. And at one time, I thought it was a good idea to bring it upstairs, make a room for all the air handlers up there, to, feed the units. But I brought my AC man in, and he made the suggestion, there's a little area out in the back of where that downstairs is, that we can build a room. And I believe you might have a drawing that I put together to show you.
It's right when you walk away, cellar doors there, right in that corner, that's what we're talking about.
So what will happen is the 3 units will go outside. Put in the covered area. All right? Those units then will keep the AC ducts that are up high and now feed all those AC ducts from this new area where the units are dry and not gonna have water coming up from the bottom of it, where all the return air comes. And that's where you just get everything just going right to the building. While the people are there, we'll have them all cleaned out. We're gonna disconnect all the old units down there. Well, actually, there's 2 new units and then there's 1 old unit. So we're gonna get rid of that one and put a new one in. It was time. It is time for it to get replaced. I just don't think the maintenance guys got to it yet, and I think it was on schedule to do it, so. This should solve the problem. You'll have units upstairs, away from that, on the outside of the building. All the ducts will then go back downstairs and hook up to the old ducts, not have to tear out everything that's under the building. You have a crawl space, all those ducts go under that building, and then go to the areas that they're feeding. All right? So we're trying to save money and not go tear everything out. And that's the way we're trying to do this. Those ducts will have to get cleaned, but that's not a big issue because they're just gonna send in these, I'm not really sure the names of them, so I'm not even gonna try to tell you, but they're cleaning units that clean out ducts. And they'll just go inside there, wash everything out, they vacuum it out from there, and it's done. And everything should really working really fine. It's not a big job, it's a very small area, but there is still a lot involved. We have an architect that's gonna, the city, we have to follow the city's codes and all that stuff. So we're starting, just getting an architect to draw the plans up. Even though plans I drew is more than enough, we still need the architect to do what we're going to. And we make everyone else do what we have to do.
Well, I'll say one thing. This character called me the other night and said to me, he said, Cookie, you're not gonna believe this. I said, and then you tell me you go out with me. Almost.
Oh, we
But
got
anyhow, I'm gonna find out. Ready for this? He got the architect to do the whole job for $1,000. Believe that at all. And that would have been quite a bit of money. Let's put it that way. I'll just read that. But he's doing it for Angelo and the town for $1,000. All the architect work on this building. He's gonna build a building outside there, block building with a roof on it and everything else, so we could service them and all that. One thing was so crazy, the only years I've been here, I never knew that there was a crawl space under that building. So we got into this. Yeah. So, but Angelo's gonna build the building and everything else, okay? And Angelo came up with a price for us to do the building, the air conditioner, right, and clean the other air conditioners, put the new ducts in, hook it all up and everything else. And the whole price that Angelo came up with was $59,300 for everything. That's the building, everything installed and everything, the whole
And
way.
that's the extra new unit too.
Yes, and the unit and everything else, and he's gonna do it, and let me tell you something. Sounds like a lot of money, but let me tell you something. This gentleman right here is doing a lot of that work for nothing. He does for the town. I mean, really, a lot of it. So, that's where we're going with him, and as soon as we get his proof and stuff, we want to go forward with this. Get the architect working on the stuff, and how long do you think about a month?
We have to wait for the plans.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the architect, do you think
We can have this.
I was trying to give it a time frame.
We
Probably
can
have
start.
to wait until the upstairs is done also.
We can still, we're gonna start on this job. This job's got to be started.
Because once the building is done, the outside shell is done, then we're gonna disconnect, but that's on the weekend. We're gonna disconnect on the weekend and we do it from that, so you're not taking any AC from, but then it's working during the day, so. That's what we're gonna set up. Do Saturday and Sunday and all that.
And plus that, just concluding this, is Andrew, we looked at it, is when we had the problem with water. I came in one day, here's a pump pumping out the water in the basement, and it's pumping right there in that building. And I said, whoa, I went there, I think we got a longer pipe, and put it out in the lower area, so it wouldn't be away from the building. When we do this building here and everything, we're gonna regrade that whole thing, get it so the water will run away from the building, no matter what happens. We won't have that problem, the moisture in the basement either, really, you know what I'm saying? So that's a big part, of it, to get that thing started and get going. But no, you don't have to wait until they get finished upstairs. We gotta start on our building and get ours going. So I really, and thank you so much, believe me, I'm hard, I really appreciate what you're doing. And the second gentleman, happened to be a gentleman that was involved in the town for quite a while, when he was mayor as a bishop. But anyhow, Mark Shuttlewitz stood up with him, both times came to me and said, look, what can we do to help? I said, well, because Mark knew about the windows. I had told him how the windows were leaking and this and the sills and all this. And within inside, believe it or not, within inside of 2 weeks, he was here with his men, pulling the window out of the museum area, where that was the worst window. Took it out, and he said, well, I want to do something. Let me take that out, get it fixed, seal it up, put it back in, and then I have a price. I can give you a price on a window basis on what we're doing. We have actually 68 windows in the whole building. But out of the 68, 29 of them are leaking, they're bad, you know, not real bad, but some of them are worse than the others. So Mark turned around and worked on it, and then came and we went over and spent about I thought it'd be a lot more. But he came out with a price of $9,000 to do 22 windows that are there now. And that is, they come out, fix them, seal them up and everything else, put all new, and he got a hold of Buddy Snowden. Buddy in here now, he was here. Buddy, because that wood is all, that's all cedar wood and stuff. So you can't get it anymore, but Buddy has it. So he got a hold of Buddy, Mark already got a hold of Buddy, and he's got the wood there that they can cut up and use for new sills and everything else for 22 windows. So that's the other part of it, and Mark came up with a price of $9,000, and he would do them windows for us. So we're looking at a total of $59,300 for everything. Now, what that does, that puts us back in the building, and the building was safe, will be safe, and we can start using it for what we need and using it. And that's why I need your support to continue with this thing and keep moving on it, let's get it done. That's all I need is your vote. Goodbye.
Is this the estimate, the $50,000?
That's for the, that's for that room.
That's for
That's
the
the
room?
room.
Then you add the window.
And then Mark's
Right.
price is $9,300, so that's on top. So 59,300 is everything complete.
Mhm.
And we're in the building and we're done with it. But it's sure a heck of a lot different than $1,300,000, that's for damn sure. So we'll be into this thing, with this and what we've got with Pro in there and everything else, will be just a little bit over $100,000 for the whole building to be finished.
All right.
I need your support to
The
keep this thing moving.
The only reason I was asking because
Go ahead.
you gave me the $59,000 and then you gave me the $9,000, but they were
No,
both
no.
together.
Yeah, his price is
Right, okay, I
his
got
price
it.
was for 50 and then
All right,
9,000 for more.
all right, I'd like to hear from our city administrator.
59,300.
In reference to what they're proposing, I don't have any comment. The process would be, if you want to do that, you waive your bidding requirements, and then you vote to award them the bid. But that's my only advice on there. I'm not a building expert, so I'm leaving that to them on what needs to be done. That's separate from what's being done from the CERCLA.
That's what we did with Safe Pro.
Now, the other thing that we're doing up in the room, the yellow room, as you call it, they moved all of the material out, all of the documents and things.
Not all
Well,
of them, not all of them.
enough of them to get out so you can work up there, but my point is, that those documents are now over in the CSA. And do you have any comments on that, or what we could do, or what's looking forward?
Well, looking
We're
forward,
over at the shuffleboard court.
Okay.
yeah, they're the shuffleboard court, locks and all of these things. Ricky did, they need to use the building to make sure that, weather-wise, they're preserved. But no, that would be another issue that we're gonna have to address, and we can talk about at budget time. And
Okay.
that's the process of digitizing.
Digitizing the documents, that's the question. Okay.
Okay, you guys, file cabinets, I met with Salt Pro guys and stuff. They were gonna leave it in the middle of the room. Problem is, the middle of the room is gonna be make our museum twice as high when that thing goes down. So what I did is I talked to them, had them put on the outside wall, their block wall, to support it. They're moving those newer file cabinets over towards the wall, they got them there, and they got them on camera stand. And in those file cabinets, okay, most of the stuff that's newer, I would say, I'm just guessing, I'm saying probably the last 15 years, whatever it is, they're in those file cabinets. So that way there, once we get done, getting that room cleaned up and everything else, and windows done and stuff, we could have people go up and start going through those file cabinets.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. Does the, quote that you gave us, I know you said it includes duct cleaning. Does that, include if anything is damaged in that duct cleaning process? Or would that be an additional cost? Say like one run of duct needed to be replaced? Would that
They're
be an
gonna do
additional
all
cost
that,
or?
Soko's gonna do all brand new ducts on the stairs, everything.
Okay.
That's upstairs.
That's upstairs, the only one
do that, we're gonna go under the crawl space and check out everything, we're gonna have to.
But just a quick thing on that is, right now, those steps from those downstairs ones have to come up and then go down underneath the crawl space.
There's not gonna be any more ducks on
When
the ground.
he does the building outside, those steps are gonna be even and go right in the building, right through the building, so that's where we're gonna go with that. But like I say, I do need your vote so we can get this thing moving. And Mark does apologize for not being here tonight. Because he's already working on windows now, on his own, basically. He's got a lot of stuff, but he's still worried about it, but Mark's working on it.
And, Mr. City Administrator, if you could, do we have the funds for this?
Well, yes and no. I mean, you have money in reserves for ARPA, but just as with the work we're doing now with ServPro, there's only $5,000 that was budgeted for building maintenance, so that line item will be used, so you're gonna see that go over once the invoices get paid. As we get closer to the end of the year, it all depends on how your budget goes. Last year, we didn't have to do any budget amendment, even those things go over, because other areas are under. So the balance is out and it doesn't go over what you originally budgeted, we're okay. If it requires money, then we'll bring a budget amendment for what amount of money we will take out of either ARPA or reserves to balance that. And while we were at about 58,000 for the buildings of ServPro, they've also run into some other issues once they've gotten up in there, and one is replacing all the ducts that we have now, old metal ones that sweat and whatever, so they said that'd be a problem. So those coming out, and then this week they found lead paint, so now we have to go through lead paint remediation, and so it kind of froze some things they were able to do. So there was gonna be some additional cost in addition to that, what we had up there, so I won't have those numbers, but we're gonna end up spending money that we didn't budget for, but it doesn't mean we don't have it.
Okay, and, do you have a ballpark on that? On the, new fees?
No, they're getting a price on that, and I'm gonna send it over.
Can I ask a question on this? I have not seen any work that they've done, because I'm not really involved with that part, but I would like to, who has been doing any inspections to see what Service Pro has been doing there? Has anyone?
Well, they haven't done any construction.
Has
Unless
anyone
you're a
else-
mold remediation expert, I'm not your angel investor.
Well, that's what I'm saying, someone should be,
Well, that's what we hired the company for.
you hired Service Pro, but who's
They're doing-
supervising it?
Well, I'm gonna leave that for you and the commission then, because
Well, I am willing to go up there, but I just don't wanna go up there and say, hey, what are you guys doing, you know? You guys tell them, hey, you got, this gentleman is your supervisor, I will go there free of charge and help them.
That's what their expertise is, they have.
I understand that, everyone has an expertise.
He's just saying,
I'm-
don't check.
Everyone needs to be watched, okay, I'm honest with you.
They can take pictures daily,
But who's looking at us? Who's looking at us?
We have access to them, they'll provide us with them
You
anytime.
need someone, like a contractor, that can take a look at it and tell you, yes, do you need new ducts? Are they just telling you you need new ducts?
Oh, trust me, with the rats that were in that building, I'm sure we need new ducks.
not to be a devil's advocate, but then you're asking us to take your word, who's watching you?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, let's be honest. Okay, so you want us to spend 59,000, but we're who's watching you?
I understand that.
Okay, let's be fair.
I understand. But my time is free. I'm not charging you anything for my time.
He has charges
Uh, But I'm just trying to tell you, someone should be overseeing what they're doing. That's all, and I'm willing to help you out of that, and I'll be it. But I just don't, I can't go up there and just start telling these guys, hey, I'm supervising your work. You need to tell them if you want me to. If you don't want me to, that's fine.
Thank
I
you.
have no problem with that.
Thank you.
But I need a vote for this, go forward.
And I would watch either of these guys all day long. Or the guy.
And there's a woman who can do it.
You need
She's right
another
there.
supervisor? Let me know, bro.
As far as the vote, we don't have a number, we don't have a dollar amount, and we have to be able to
Yes,
say,
right here.
no.
It's gonna be about three.
Well, I'm not saying- $59,300.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is not, you're not voting on serve project.
Okay, all right.
This is the price to finish the job up, right?
So then we need to find what you guys for 59,000. Okay.
That's what I need to finish the job up so we can move forward. If we do all this work, we don't finish it up.
All right, okay, you got it, you got it.
So, does that 59,000 include, who's gonna clean up that basement and get the mold out and stuff? That's all included in that too? And if we need any more ductwork, that ductwork
Well,
needs to be
again,
replaced?
we have to take a look what's underneath that. I think that whole crawl space.
Yeah, like, so every job has a,
In
could be.
a nutshell, this is your proposal. Okay, so this is the proposal that we are voting on, is that what you're saying?
Well, the only thing I would point out, and it's similar to when, Rick Basso was going to donate services to build the, pavilion, or whatever it is he's gonna build, we probably need a contract for this. And, that, we can, we're paying them, Basso, we're not paying, so we're paying for this, is, and they're gonna have, are the people gonna be insured who own this property? Are they going to give warranties on any of the work? Or what are you buying? You really should have a contract that outlines some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Sure, you need insurance.
Do we also have to require?
Or you need, if people are volunteering their time, we have forms where they can sign waivers and release a liability when they're going on there. Somebody gets hurt on there, if they're volunteering their time, release us from liability. We're just, it's all good, and it all sounds good, and it's all hunky-dory until it's not. Until there's a problem. And then people start pointing fingers, hey, where's this, where's that? The window inspector here, where you get a warranty. Well, no, these were people just helping us out. We just need to know what we're getting. What are you paying for? I know you're paying for this work, and it's a lot cheaper than what other people pay for, but we need to have some minimal protections in there to protect the city. If somebody goes on there and gets hurt, we don't want to be sued for that. So just something to think about.
I just figured out why we hired this guy.
Uh,
But anyhow, listen to me, he is willing to do a written contract to what he's doing and everything.
And I have a contract that I did up for
Well,
my Basso form.
No, all the people that are doing the work are insured. Okay, so they'll give the city a copy of the insurance and all that.
That's-
I have my insurance, that's gonna go to the city.
And we don't have to, put it,
No, you don't have to hold off. I would say,
no, that's not my question. My question, we don't have to bid this out. We have to have verbiage as to why we're going to go. with this.
you need to waive the bidding, it has dollar amount, blue chip bidding requirements, but I think you have justification to waive the bid, because, in this situation, you can say that basically overall in the best interest of the city, we've gone out for bids, we've got the formal bids, it's way more money. And so,
Those were totally different, that was a total different scope of work. That was a lot more work.
100,000 is better than a million. I'll put it that way.
But that's what I'm saying, that was a whole different scope of work that they did for all this.
Thank you for your time.
I just want to get clarification now. We are going to waive the bidding. Okay?
yes,
Is that what we're doing? Okay, is that part of the motion?
the motion would be to waive the bidding and to approve the proposal subject to execution of the contract with appropriate terms and conditions.
Anybody make that motion?
Trying to. Everybody keeps talking.
What they here for?
For the best interest of the city, I make a motion that we waive the bidding and accept the proposal, for, I don't know what you call you guys, the City Hall Improvement Team.
There you go. That sounds good.
Subject to, completion of contract with the city.
We have a motion? Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Motion moved in second.
Did you say anything about insurance?
Part of the contract. All right, we have a motion, we have a second, zone one. Oh, before we have that, we have, comments. Ron, you were for the water tower at
They're not gonna do the painting of the water tower, they're talking about the building right now.
No, what I'm saying is that on the yellow stuff, because it would have been something that you could, but we'll get to you. I just let you know, it's not on the agenda.
When the water tower is brought up, then I'd like to speak.
It's on the agenda?
It's under the, Mayor, it's
Oh,
under
it's
the record, that's later in the meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there any discussion?
I have a comment there about this.
Kayla? Sure. Come.
Kayla Troy, 664 McKinsey. I don't have nearly as many years' experience as Cookie and Angelo, but looking at those bids, especially the window repair, those are incredible prices. And I think that if you were to put that same scope of work out for bid, it would be really hard to find anyone else willing to donate that many materials and time to that type of work. So just keep that in mind. I know we already have this great motion, but just to give you, if it gives you any solace, that is really good pricing to reinvigorate the city hall and be able to use that equipment that we have upstairs for these meetings, all of that. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Anyone else? I would like to echo what she said. I've seen Mark's work over at the Wright building over in the land where he's put windows in that particular building, and it saves a lot of money. And it's because it's historical, then it met all of the needs of to be historical, and it's also serviceable. So Mark is, I can't say enough about it. So we got a motion, second, discussion. Zone 1?
Yes.
Zone 2?
Yes.
Zone 3?
Yes.
Zone 4? And I vote yes. So it's been. Okay. Moving right along. The consent agenda. Discussion? Part of the,
You're on the manager report. You don't need to vote on that. It's just information.
okay, minutes and consent agenda, I have 2 for that. Kelly Fresca, followed by Nancy Fury.
Kelly Fresca, 616 John Street. My question was, where the bills paid as far as where we can see it? I just overheard that it was going to be in the city administrator's report, but it has always been a motion to be approved. And it was been included into the agenda. So my question is, where is it?
It's under city administrative report.
And is there a vote being taken at that point?
It was discussed at the workshop. This was what was going on.
I can say that it's not good.
Discussion, I think it was just a statement. Okay, it said that that's what, I said it was, said this was what's gonna happen. I think you said discuss. I did say.
Yes, it was moved to this point where it would be underneath our administrative report.
And why isn't it available to the citizens to review?
It's available, it's gone on.
It's in the agenda? I must have overlooked it. But it's not to be approved. It's not gonna be a vote.
There's no point because the bills were already been paid a month ago, so we can't.
It's always been that way.
I know.
And it is in the charter that you approve those bills paid. So are we doing away with the charter?
No, we're not doing it.
It is in the charter, sir. It absolutely is.
Okay, where'd you get your attorney's degree?
Oh, where did you get yours? Okay then.
You're quoting law?
No, I'm recording.
purchasing ordinance, it's in the books, it says, depending on how much is spent, this is what staff has to go through. And as long as they follow the purchasing ordinance and they don't exceed the budget, they have the ability to spend it per what you've adopted, for the budget and for the purchasing ordinance. Now, if either one of those things don't occur, if they go over budget, or they can't meet the criteria of your purchasing guidelines, or once it gets to 25,000, or whatever the 10,000 I think it is, you have to approve it. Why would we bring back actually writing the check? With all the other stuff that you put in place. If all those rules are followed, they stay within budget, they follow the purchasing guidelines, now we're gonna wait to pay the bills until you rubber stamp them? Because you are paying more attention to the budget. That's what if you want to get into it. There's a budget you adopt, there's a budget you can amend. Look at that. Change your purchasing ordinance if you don't like that. But when you put all those protections in place to bring back hey, we gotta sign the proof signing of the check after we've already complied with all that, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you. Nancy?
Hi, Nancy Weary, 435 West Delaware. I'd like to address the lack of proper minutes again. This seems to be a pattern. And I want to reiterate the importance of proper minutes for public record. They are vitally important. I know that when you take your classes, your ethics classes, I know the attorney told you the importance of these records. So I'm going to encourage you to insist that you have proper minutes. Thank you.
To that, we are now, city administrator,
No, we have to approve the
approve the,
minutes.
question is, okay, we're asking for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Motion moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposes? One. Okay. Yeah, okay, so 4 and 1, no. Thank you. Okay. Approval of the minutes. Now we have a public hearing. We have a resolution 2025-04. Is that, you want to read that in title, Scott?
Sure, pretty brief, but I'll read it. Resolution number 2025-04 concerning the Volusia County local litigation strategy.
Okay. Give us some background on that?
Mayor, every 5 years, the county adopts a local mitigation strategy. The last time it was adopted was 2020. It's about a 500-page report that addresses the county, and then there are sections for each of the cities. And it requires a resolution adopted by all the jurisdictions within Volusia County, in addition to the county, in order before they send it to the state. So this is just our process of providing the Lake Helen resolution.
Any discussion?
Are we going to take a vote on this tonight? I mean, there's 500 pages and quite a bit to work through.
If I can make a comment on it. I think it was 1998, I was able to go for about 6 weeks to the FEMA up in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and went through all 5 of the classes that deal with disaster preparedness and stuff. Mitigation was one of them. This document is probably one of the most important parts of handling an emergency, following an emergency and mitigating the problems to try to prevent them from happening in the future. This is where some of them, like there was a town that had been flooded like 5 years in a row. billions of dollars and moved that town a mile away so that they wouldn't have to keep coming back and repairing the town every time it flooded. Well, that was a mitigation thing that goes on, and this is one of the most important, that's the steps in progress so that we can get the mitigation part of it done faster and so that we can get reimbursed and funds coming in to help take care of the future disasters and preventing them from happening.
Thank you. I know you read the title. I just want to read what the resolution is, what we're resolving. The City of Lake Helen hereby accepts and approves of its designated portion of the Volusia County Local Mitigation Plan. Volusia County has already put together a plan, and we're approving our part of it. The City of Lake Helen accepts and endorses the mitigation goals and objections established by the Volusia Preparedness for the countywide plans and the anticipated schedule of the next updating of these plans. These plans have to be updated on a regular basis, so we're basically approving that we will be in compliance when those regulations when those are put into effect. The City of Lake Helen finds and proposes mitigation projects and programs included in the plan by other jurisdictions. We're not alone in what we're doing. There are other jurisdictions that are also doing the same thing that we're doing here. We are just formalizing it by putting it into this particular document. The agency of personnel, the City of Lake Helen, are requested and instructed to pursue available funding opportunities. We will be looking for available funds that can do the mitigations of what we do so we don't have to come from the taxpayers. The agency personnel of the City of Lake Helen requested and instructed to pursue available. I just read that. The agency and organizations within the City of Lake Helen will, upon receipt of such funding or other necessary resources, seek to implement the proposals contained in this county's individual section of strategy. So if we're a part of the process, our requirements are in order to be a part to it, we're signed off on it as a city, and that's what this basic document is. The City of Lake Helen will continue to participate in updating and expansion of this Volusia County local mitigation plans and in the years ahead. These things are basically tying us to things that we are required to do. It's not just a willy-nilly kind of thing. We're signing off onto it. And if the city commissioner or city administrator does not keep up their end of the bargain, then it's going to make us look bad. But we have been given the responsibility and obligation, which is what this document has. And as the mayor, and as the city administrator, and as our attorney who's reviewed this, and our city administrator, this document here is what will then go to the county. Am I correct? Okay. That was it.
Yes,
Sure.
we get notices from Volusia County quite a bit often, sometimes 5 times a day on it. One of them, which deals with mitigation, is what everybody's into right now. We're mitigating the problems from Hurricane Milton. Volusia County Council greenlights $133.5 million in federal funds for stormwater and flood mitigation infrastructure improvements. A Hurricane Milton recovery plan approved by the Volusia County Council during the May 6th meeting will direct $100 million of federal grant funds into stormwater improvements, future storm protection, and voluntary buyouts to support flood-impacted homeowners. So, I mean, it's got like 4 more paragraphs on her. If anybody wants a copy of it. This is what mitigation's about. And these are the funds that's available to us that the city puts in for them to help resolve some of our problems so that it reduces them in the future.
Thank you. Do I have a motion or discussion from the audience? Hearing none. We need to have a motion for this.
I make a motion that we accept resolution number 2025-04 concerning Volusia County local mitigation
Now, the question I asked, what I guess I had a question on the reading is that it is the date that they're going to have it is to be determined. They have hours of between 2 and 5 p.m. They also have where it says that if there was a washout, do you have another event? So, give me some more of what this is. Like that. All right, I see it now. The smaller, more intimate setting, will have contemporary jazz, love radio 94. Arts and crafts will be outside. Vendors will have tents up. We do not have alcohol or food trucks at our events. There will be no blocking of the roadways, throughways, etc. So they basically want to have it in this building and on the grounds that is requested for this today.
From what it looks like, it's monthly on Saturdays, probably the first month of each, first Saturday of each month,
Right.
from 2 to 5 or 6.
It's provides
Can you explain what it's gonna be?
it is I just read it, I'll read it again. It is a contemporary jazz, which will have arts and crafts. There will be outside, in or around the Hopkins Hall. They also have this possibility of making easy music, not the museum. Hopkins Hall, the library.
No, man, it's outside.
Outside.
It's not in the building, it's outside.
Yeah, the bathroom.
I don't know, we'll have to check that. So the event is not in the building.
Venue here, is it open to the public? It's open by the public.
Sounds like an arts and crafts thing with music.
With music, right. It doesn't sound like it's a big
Center?
Mine's just for a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
My suggestion is to see with them, they're wanting it for free, why not do it at the park and add the market park? And that way it's one of them.
He wants it more independent and thought that was too large for what he said.
And the other only thing I'm gonna bring up is you got the gentleman back here who is audible, and that, he is going to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that was it.
Thank you for that. Yeah, okay.
I told you the guy here so we can explain all this stuff.
And just, yeah, okay. So I would, motion, well, we're eventually table it. Motion to table. Okay, all in favor? Table. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me?
What did they tell you about today?
He gave us some information that basically.
Well, you know, I'm not gonna give you that information.
Okay, well. Thank you. Okay, is that what you were talking about? What you just mentioned, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes,
We haven't taken the vote.
you haven't voted, I think we are all in favor?
I only heard two yays, I didn't hear it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All in favor, let's do it again, I thought I heard.
Table.
All, yeah, to table.
To table.
Yeah, unanimous?
Yes.
Okay, so it's tabled. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's then table. I have,
You got another executive session.
yeah, I mean, I'm just, these are for the same. That, I mean, you have a question on FEMA reimbursement?
Yes, when we get to the consent.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay.
And Ron, you're on also for, the tower.
Tower.
Okay. Betty? Ms. Long?
I would just, I noticed they said Hopkins Hall.
Oh, yeah, no, we tabled the whole thing, we,
Okay.
nothing to do. Okay, the family circus. Every year, the circuses come to our town, and, they've been good neighbors, and the city loves them, the kids do. Just wanna get to it. Okay. Monday, April 28th, a day of discussion. This is the corporation. I need to read through the estimate. They want to have this at the equestrian grounds. It's gonna be, the date that's gonna be February 16th is the date that they're gonna start at 4 p.m. and they close at 8 p.m. Then they will conclude the performance on the 16th and one on the 16th and the 17th. So they open up and they close on the same day, next day. They have a plan attached. If there's anybody who wants to give a comment? They're pretty, they've been here before, and they pretty much, it's like they've got it before. Yeah, 4 hours. Is there any comments, discussion?
I have one, Mayor.
Please do.
I don't understand your price chart on this one either. You have equestrian center, and you don't have an amount, you have to determine, who determines?
Who provided this? This event schedule, I mean,
Try to look at what they tabled in the past years.
What I'm getting at is who's coming up with that amount? Just looking at amount would be, but who came up with that? Somebody, there's gotta be somewhere you can go to and say, this is what we're
I don't know.
charging. So it's,
Is this part of our application? So this is for anyone. Okay, so you're asking now, is
application, I see here they got equestrian center marked, and it says to be determined, so who is it that determines what they pay for that? I mean, the board should set all rental rates, there shouldn't be anybody guessing and coming up with amounts, you all should have the set rate.
We also have, history with them, should that be something in our archives that, to see what they've done?
Okay, but my question still is that then do we just go case by case and we just come up with a rental amount? For whatever it is for the equestrian center?
Okay.
I think it was based on size of the event. That's what I believe we did for Strawberry Festival. I could be mistaken. But I'll let you know, but I think it needs to be clear.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have a problem? Well. One will be fine. So where we at now, this is the amount that they're being charged, or that, I don't see that either.
Can I ask a question? I thought the equestrian center pretty much pays, they pay for their own attorney, they pay for the cleanups there, they're pretty responsible for the equestrian center themselves. Am I correct in that? Betty, on the equestrian center? Have you ever rented the equestrian center out to anybody before? Okay, you don't rent it out.
No, but they,
Okay, but we've done it for the strawberry, right? Okay.
This group has been here several years, so I'm assuming that they have some sort of a history that they're relying on. Jim is new here, so this is something that he would be the person that's questioning it, as to the amount.
It's the same application.
Same application that everybody gets.
Last time. I mean, this is, they filled out with the same information that they did for the last year.
Right.
They did it last year.
And the question was, what is the amount that they're being charged? All of these numbers?
I don't see a charge either.
Oh, parking area, like also. That's what they're using the parking.
And we don't have a total on here.
So we don't know what the charge is.
All right, I'm got all those good things about it, but the number part of it is not where I'm following with. What is the amount that we're going to get paid to do this? Is that a question you're asking?
Well, I mean, if you're saying charge them what they paid you 2 years ago, then we can do that. But I don't know what that is.
I don't see
I don't
it.
even know if it covers our costs.
I don't even see that with this. I don't see their part on this. Dollar amount.
I think they're relying on us to come up with a figure.
Really? Well, we can do it.
Based on, if I may say this, based on what they're gonna charge you all, what they're gonna charge children, and based on 2 days, it looks like they could possibly make up to about $4,000 for themselves. I think that we should at least charge them a going rate.
Where do you get that number?
Looking at their numbers here. They've got $20 per adult, they've got
Oh.
$7 per children, it's 2 days.
The crowd varies, that's for sure. First couple of years that they were here, they were all over the place, people were all over the place. I'm at a loss with this one. I'll take some money, you guys. Or,
We have a card up there. We have a card.
Have a couple cards on it.
okay, I got Bill State, Water Tower, video, events,
Yeah.
Kelly Events,
they have been a very respectable circus. That's why it was always determined on per event, and no two circuses are alike. So, the Zerbini Circus, you would have to go back, I believe, into 2000 and maybe 2 or 3. I want to say 2002 was the last time they were used. We had a different circus for the past few years. Another family circus.
Do you remember about how much they charged? I mean, based on what I'm seeing, they're asking for Blake Park Pavilion, Blake Park
You mean,
Space.
do you mean the
What do
equestrian
you
center?
charge them? Well, they've got the equestrian center, there's no charge.
You're talking about the equestrian center, not Lake Park, right?
Well,
Is that
we've got, to shame you guys don't have this, but we've got prices that
Are
are.
you
listed
talking
on
about the
there.
prices? The price,
Like, for tables, folding tables and blah, blah, blah.
well, they don't require any of that stuff. All the circus requires for this particular event, all they require is the grounds, access to the tower, and to the water, and to the restroom. That might have changed. They might not no longer need access to the restrooms. I don't know.
Okay, I should go to the next one.
If they don't no longer need electricity, then that's even less of a, that would be where your to be determined is. The Strawberry Festival has more foot traffic. It is not solely in one particular area, and it requires more days, so that is a different type of event.
But not to question you, but even on that, Lee came up with the amount for the Strawberry Festival.
Yes.
The commission did not.
I believe Lee came up with a suggestion and the commission approved that. Yeah.
We
So
found-
each-
I found in record where Lee came up with it.
So if you go back, sir, if you go back into, I would say maybe look at 2022, you could see what Zerbini, the Zerbini Family Circus was last charged. You go with that, or, things have gone up, but
November or December of 2022, they brought it to us for approval for February 15th. That's about the time that they were looking at the COVID recovery.
yeah. Yeah, and that is, thank you, and that was another thing, the consideration, taking into consideration what the schedule is currently for the Saddle Club and whatever other shows are being done there at that time, so that way it worked around it and worked together, so they didn't, have two events going back to back, including the setting up and breaking down point, so that way that doesn't interfere with the show. That should be, thank you.
Someone has got better eyes than me, can you tell me how much we are expecting them to pay? I didn't think about that, I figured it was already in but that question does leave some.
They don't have a representative here.
No, they were invited.
Okay.
Well, then again, I make a motion to table it, so Representative Gessner and to give city staff a chance to review our records to see what was charged in the past.
There's a motion, and a second. Motion second. Any comments? I would just add that the dates that they're looking to do this is in February, so they're far enough in advance that we could come to some, not this meeting, the next meeting. You have something in there? Yes, Betty, please.
Maybe along with 715 McKenzie Road. We've had this in the past where we are required, I think it's October, we have to have our new dates in for the following year, which you all have those because we always keep you up on those. The problem we have is the first Saturday of the month is always been traditionally, I've been here 28 years, traditionally our Saddle Club, our first speed show. And so, a couple of things. So, if you set the dates before we had an opportunity to submit shows. And we've been traditionally had a lot of shows that we've had where they picked the date that they shouldn't have. But I just would like you all to keep that in mind. With the service that's always worked before, I know from going in there, they're very clean. They did a great job. No damage or anything, so, yes.
February 16th and 17th, a Monday and a Tuesday.
I mean, on 16th is on Monday and
During the week.
Well, it's during the week,
Yeah.
okay, so they used to do it on weekends, so.
I know.
So that would be fine then, okay, and I know, I've gone back and forth when the shows, when they come in and they've done a really good job. So that, and as far as charging them, okay, I do have a question. You all are aware that we pay electricity bill and the water bill at the equestrian center. I know one. Yeah, I know that Roger knows that, so. And also, and Scott would have to answer this, because that was done under, well, I don't understand all these things it was done under, but I know that if there's certain things you can't, I know, and I don't know how to figure it out, Scott could probably help me with this, but I know when we originally had that there, the money that was made on that property had to stay there. It had to be used on that particular property. Because I know years ago I went in to see, because we have to, you know that we take care of the stalls, and they're charged, but that money goes to the city. And I came in one day, this is a number of years ago, way before COVID, and I said, I'd like to know how much is in the stall fee, and stall fund, and oh no, what do you mean, we don't have a stall fund? I go, you better have a stall fund. I said, because we do so much money, and that money is not supposed to be, well, we just put it into the general account. No. It is not supposed to go into the general account. It's supposed to be when our treasurers write it for the stall fee, it goes into a special account, and it can only be used on that piece of property. However, we can't control that, but we always take care of it. We put new hay in, we do take care of that part of it. So for those that may not be familiar, I just wanted to, the mayor knows because he spent time over there.
Thank you, Betty.
You're welcome.
So, just what you just said, that the equestrian stadium has their own schedule. They're coming to us for something in February, so we would need to know what your schedule is, so there won't be a clash. There should be enough time between there and then for this to take care, because they didn't come, they didn't show up, so you did vote to table it.
We did motion to table it, yeah.
Okay, did we vote on it yet?
No.
Okay, any comments?
Yeah, I have one. The deputy city clerk said that, I guess Cervini family didn't come to us, they were invited to come here.
They were invited to the meeting.
Oh, to the meeting, okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. So you'll reach out to them to get some more clarification? So there's a motion and a second to table? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So it's tabled. Kelly said something that I wasn't aware of. This wasn't the same, this is not the same circus, we had a different circus?
Yes, a different service came in between, the Zerbini family circus schedule
staff requests that the city commission execute the attached certificate of appropriateness for the applications. All parties shall be given the opportunity to present evidence through documents, exhibits, testimony, and other means. All parties shall be given the opportunity to rebut evidence through cross-examination or other means. The applicants will be responsible for reporting the executed certificate of appropriateness with the Volusia County Clerk of the Court. That being said, is there anyone here that's had any, ex parte contacts with any of the properties on here? None. None? Does anyone want to pull out any particular of the property for particular discussion?
Item 9D, COA 9427 has been is only offense.
I'm sorry.
9D is only the capacity of doing offense.
Only the fence? That's a modification? Okay. No, yes. 427 Main Street, instead of a new pool and a fence, they just want a fence. Okay.
So we pull that out for discussion.
Discussion?
Yes, please.
Okay, what about the other three? 311 Main, 351 Delaware, 637 Main Street. Is any discussion need to be with any particular ones that we can vote on as a group?
I think that I saw another one that had a fence in it, maybe not.
Okay, so we're,
Is somebody pulling 427 Main, or is that just letting us know the update?
No, it's an update and then Lynn might pull it.
Okay.
the update is that it's not actually looking for a pool.
They are requesting the pool, however, the historical board has not reviewed.
They haven't reviewed it yet.
They do not know, they do not review pools.
They don't review the pool.
The only thing that they are, who are reviewing is when
Is the fence to go beyond that?
pools go through permanent process.
Okay, permanent, okay. So can we,
Look at the full cage goes through.
is that good?
Yeah, that's the way I've always done it. I just want to talk about the fence.
Okay, so let's take the vote on the other three first.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the quasi-judicial COAs for A, B, and C.
Motion A, B, and C. Second. Any comments on these three events? None? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And all in favor? Okay. So, now we move down to D, 427 Main. Something that you want to pull out?
Yes, Mayor, I don't understand, like, we're looking at this gorgeous colored picture with a fence. We're paying Morales for fencing only. And yet permitting can go as far as putting in a pool and doing the enclosures. Why do we have to have a company go out? Why can't a permitting company go out, do serve, have a full permit, and put the fencing up and save us some money?
Valid question. Do you have any comments on this? How did they come before us, Mr. Administrator?
Mayor, I couldn't tell you when that HPV was set up before me and what they reviewed and hiring Bob Morales, so unless there's someone here from the board that might want to speak to that.
Kayla Troy, 664 McKinsey. I've been on the board for about 6 years, but obviously it was set up before me as well. We did have a different consultant before we had Bobby. Overall, I think he's definitely an asset to the board and to the city. I can't speak to why they want him to review certain applications and not others. I mean, you have a good point in some ways that maybe when it's only a fence, maybe there isn't a fee that needs to be be assessed to Bobby. But I think when the application came to us, it was for more than the fence, and I think maybe in cases like that, is still needed, but, I guess the worst case scenario is that if they applied for one certain type of fence in this special area, and then they didn't follow through with that, Bobby is there to follow up on that. No one else is paid to do that, and no one else is volunteering to do that, so that's the
So this
negative
is
side.
like a special area?
This is the historic district and the gateway, those are the only two areas we review anyway, so those are the only two areas he's paid to review.
What about the pool enclosure?
That's a part of our review as well, but I don't know,
Because this is saying, on the title, it's saying new pool enclosure and fence, not new pool and fence. So they're not requesting for the pool, because the pools are governed by state regulations, and those are strict. But they want the fence, the pool enclosure and the fence. Well, you read the small print at the top of each thing.
Yeah, they separated it.
yeah, we, because it's just an aesthetic architectural review, we just look at the shape of the pool enclosure, and, so that was something we reviewed at that meeting and suggested that you approve, but I'm not sure if the applicant decided to withdraw it or not. I would have to refer to staff. But at our meeting, we reviewed the pool cage and the fence.
But to me, I mean,
So you issued a yes for the enclosure and
Yes.
the fence?
Yeah. What were you
to
saying?
me, the enclosure would probably be a much larger item, but for fencing, I just pay money to Bobby Morales for fencing. People should be told, I'm sure they know, living in the gateway, what they're allowed to do and not.
They're in an HOA as well, so they have 2 layers of review.
Yeah, and for the city to have to pay Bobby to, it's a beautiful picture.
The applicant pays,
The applicant
Right.
paying for this.
yeah, the city doesn't pay Bobby, as far as I know, I think the
They pass
applicant
along
pay.
to the, whatever they pay, it's.
175? Isn't it 175?
I'm not sure, what, overall what the fee is, but the applicant pays it, and honestly, there's very few times that only a fence comes through. There's, for as many fences that Bobby may look at, there are 10 whole home designs that are nothing like what Lake Helen, would set up in their
Right.
requirements.
No, I understand that, but it just seems strange to me, that somebody's paying like $175 out there, or maybe somebody else pays more, but I just, when I saw this picture, I thought, that's kind of strange. Beautiful, simple fence, it's metal and bronze, so I'm gonna vote for it, there's no doubt about it, but there's just doesn't make sense to me that we have to use Bobby Morales for fencing. Simple
Required
things.
by our code.
Sorry.
That's part of our code, that's part of the review of the code and our ordinances. The Historic Preservation Board will review fences. That's within y'all's discretion to say, okay, maybe they don't need to review fences.
And that's where I'm headed,
Yeah.
maybe we don't, so, just something to think about.
What you said that, Bobby knows one that can do the review.
I'm
If
not-
they put up the wrong fence, he would be the one that would say, you got the wrong fence.
I don't know how it's set up, but we came up across the problem that after the board reviews things and then they actually go out into the field, a lot of those things were not being followed through with, and big things, foundation changes, things like, and so a building inspector isn't gonna enforce any of that, they're looking at building code. And then the city, who is gonna come out to check that, so that was when we said Bobby, and I think even before Bobby, it was Ariel, but whoever was in that other position knew
Thank you, yes. All right, do I have any motion?
I make a motion, we accept the certificate of preparedness for 427 West Main Street for the full screen enclosure and fence.
Motion moved in second. Any more comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Oh, wait. Okay, all in favor, it passed. Thank you. All right, where are we now? Where are you?
Item 10, city administrator reports.
Okay, city administrator report.
You have the checklist and the monthly budget report in the packet.
Yes.
But I am handing out something. This is involving the CDDG project and the Kicklighter Road.
This is that third section, right?
Yeah, the city applied, the county, how they used to do CDBG, I guess they'd set aside a certain amount of money and give it each year. The cities must have been based on population. They're changing that and going forward, this year forward. Not allocating any money to any specific city. Every project is going to be needs-based and competitive, which means that if we submit, we need to have a shovel-ready project, and they'll rank it and vote in terms of there. The problem with this one is the city requested $110,000 from CDBG to do about a half-mile section on Kicklighter. And On Engineering was involved in that application, and they were involved in supposed to be the design of that section. And what you have in front of you is what they proposed to us, which is the estimate of that road. So $110,000 half-mile section, they're estimating at almost $1.7 million. And I asked our other engineers to take a look at the package just to see, and while they said some things were high in there, they still said $1 million. So I don't know who thought we could do a section of Kicklighter for $110. So if we put this out for bid, we're gonna get bids for that, and the county will say, yeah, you can spend your $110, but we're gonna have to come up with a difference. And I don't know if that was the anticipation of us spending $1 million plus on the road.
I think if I understand it correctly, when this was brought out, the project was supposed to align the road and scrape it and put millings down. And when they went through with the engineering area, they're including stormwater assessments, the proper road milling, proper road grading underneath with all the road bed stuff and everything like you're gonna put in a regular paved road, and then putting millings on top of that. And
Yeah, we've had this discussion with them, Roger, and you're right, but here's the difference. See, CBDG is federal money. It comes from HUD, so there are requirements. And so if that was being done in-house and you were spending $110,000, maybe you don't go through that. But this has to go through permitting, it has to go through St. John's, you know, there would be stormwater issues, there is realignment, there's taking down trees and what have you. So, I mean, I can't tell you it's a good price or bad price, but between either company, we're $1 million plus. And I know we don't have $1 million that we're gonna be spending on that segment of the road. And we're up against the deadline with the county, because this money has to be spent this fiscal year. And we've already gotten extensions on the project, not be able to do the project. No. Now, I've talked with Ricky, and there's some things that we're gonna be able to do in-house that would add some improvement in some of the things you were talking down there, but it won't be stormwater, it won't be permits, and it'll be truly just, you know, grading that road and doing, you know, some base or whatever. Ricky maybe is better qualified to talk in terms of there, but where we're at now, especially with the county going into the competitive bid process this next year, I don't want us to get sideways with the county and get a black mark involving CBDG. You know, we already can't do that for another year from January on. And so I'd rather tell them that this got priced out beyond what we could do. And the commission is hold that request and let them put that money back to something else. And because we're going to be going for a much larger amount this next year that'll be for stormwater. And I just don't want to get sideways.
I think we do what we can with the road and put more of our efforts towards the stormwater mitigation.
And you said something about we're a year and a half out from being able to apply again because of
No, ECHO, you can't apply for ECHO until we paid off the money. The last payment is January 26th.
So we're a year and a half worth of, we did the first year, we did the second,
We made 2 payments,
and we have 1 more year to do.
well, less than a year. We'll pay January 26th for the March, May. So what I would like then is you know, a motion from the commission so we can give to the county that we've gone ahead and pulled the project. And let them release 100%.
Anybody else? Question?
Where do we stand on it when we FEMA money?
I didn't hear you.
Where do we stand on this FEMA dollars?
We meet with them weekly, and we haven't gotten an answer back yet in reference to our mitigation, in reference to roads or whatever. They're getting ready to submit for all of our expenses so far, so maybe next Tuesday we'll know on reimbursement for that, but we haven't gotten their mitigation plan back yet in helping the roads.
And I know you sent me a report on dollars awarded. Those awarded dollars we received and put in an account, somewhere close to about 500,000. Or
They weren't all awarded, but you asked for what we had applied for. Some of those haven't been awarded, is what we're applying for.
Well, yeah, the report I got said, I think there's a couple of them awarded.
Yeah, we've had maybe about $500,000, but one went to copper and lead pipes.
Okay.
The other is Resiliency Florida, which is, I think, $175,000, which would also be stormwater, that's Department of Environmental Protection, and $200,000 from Transform 386. That's again based on stormwater. And the county's running that one, they're not even having our engineers do that one, so even though our guys helped us apply for it, but they're handling that. So we've gotten 3, 2 for stormwater, 1 for copper and lead pipes. And then we're doing bigger appropriations for both water and stormwater systems in the state and the federal government.
So that's how we got it.
Yeah.
They're awarded.
Yeah.
And I know that there's several plans, so I'm anxious to see how that goes.
Part of the question that we spoke about earlier, not here, but Pennsylvania Avenue,
same mitigation that we've got with FEMA. So we've got to wait to hear back from them on that road, especially if we're looking for federal funding to pay. Now, I've talked with Ricky about doing better barricading on that road itself, but again, we're at the mercy of FEMA. And I'll be honest, that's scary because in new appropriations, there's zero funding from the federal government for FEMA. Zero.
And the problem I've had with that particular road is that we have a lot of heavy trucks that come through there, and I took pictures underneath the road. The road is washing away. And we have, and I did request that we have at least have an inspector to come and give us some directions as to, based on the traffic, based on the condition of the road, where we stand in terms of having to either avoid the road being used by heavy trucks or worst case scenario, how close it is for it to possibly close down, fall down.
I mean, I don't have that answer,
I
now,
understand.
but those requests have been made both to FEMA and our own engineer.
Right, I want to bring this up because a lot of times people ask me questions, well, what's happened, what's happened, what's happened? The fact that FEMA, if FEMA on a good day was going to give us the money that we need to take care of things, then it might be worth the wait. But when on a bad day, we're waiting and they don't give us those funds, then if we do something ourselves, it's just like you take your car, you get in a car accident, and then you take it to your mechanic and he says, I can fix it for nothing. He fixes it for nothing, you get nothing. So we can't fix this road unless we withdraw the FEMA application.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to talk to FEMA if you're pulling that one road out, but then again, if you're talking $1.7 million for a half-mile section of a dirt road, give you an idea then of what the cost will be for a road. So if we wanna do that on our own, I wouldn't cut the,
No,
I
I guess
wouldn't
I
cut the
kind of,
line yet with FEMA.
I guess I kind of spoke in a way that, the road is looking bad, it looks like it's deteriorating, we're not doing anything, and the reason that we're not doing anything because we can't do something, so should we do something?
We're gonna do better barricading of the roads.
Better barricading the road and the inspection.
Well, that's being requested through FEMA.
Okay. Do we have to have them do the inspection?
Well, their engineers came out, and then we had our engineer come out. So FEMA sent their engineers down to check all the roads that we had inspected, and then they came back for the ones that were underwater and water receded.
Those of you who've been around for a long time, when Pennsylvania collapsed several years ago, it was a nightmare. On the corner of Goodwin and Pennsylvania, the whole roadway just disintegrated. So we're not there yet, but it's kind of in the back of my mind every time I go by there and see the barriers. So we're gonna get better barriers at least that we get better barriers. So if you come through there at night, I wouldn't want to be there.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Probably gonna end up having to shut the road down before it's all through. I'm getting prices on water-filled barriers, on concrete, go steadily across, because people, honestly, they don't care if they're there, they go through them, they hit them, they tear them down, go on through, and until something happens, and then they come back and say, you know, what happened? Well, you took the barricades and went through it, so we're gonna have to sturdy them up, so I'm working on that now. But the road is deteriorating, like you said, more and more out to the middle, and the big heavy trucks going down there, it's not helping. So we'll probably end up shutting it down.
So when we do that, we also take into consideration, we have dump truck, we have garbage trucks, school buses that take those roads.
We'll have to notify all of them.
We have to make them aware that when we do that, that they have to make arrangements.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else? Scott, you got something?
We didn't go through all of, gym stuff, cause we got the water tower and all that.
Yeah, all right. No, go ahead.
up spending over $500,000 on the cleanup between Crowder Gulf and Tetra Tech. That's the cost. The difference is that we'll get 100% of the reimbursement back because we use FEMA approved contractors. Reason we haven't paid anything on Ian, they can tell you you saved money, you didn't save anything. You lost $160,000. So you didn't get anything.
Were we in compliance with the governor's required that we?
We met the government's deadline that we were cleaned up by that date, so we are told we're getting 100% reimbursement.
Does that answer?
If I may,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is when we decided to, work with the land and the debris pickup. Is that what you're talking about?
No, the commission approved contracts with Tetra Tech and Crowder Gulf for hurricane debris. They're the companies that were under contract for other communities in Volusia County.
Right.
But we didn't work with anybody else. We're standalone on that. And everybody submits for their own reimbursement. Yeah, we piggyback the contracts.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, we piggyback that. Yes, yeah.
Okay, so, and it cost us somewhere about $500,000 during that process, right?
Well,
So
yeah.
we're hoping to get back how much?
100%.
100%, okay.
And they're telling me it'll be in this fiscal year. In fact, I'll know something maybe on Tuesday on where that stands because the guys are contact was approving off on those. But we didn't get the invoice from, I'll get them confused with whether it's Tetra Tech or Crowder Gulf. One of them we paid and the other we just got the invoices within the last month.
Thank you.
Scott?
The only thing I was gonna let you know, and I sent a copy of this to Jim, because I got a copy of it, just the Florida legislature passed a bill, I don't know if it's been signed by the governor yet, but they put in some significant restrictions on our ability to adopt more stringent, adopt a moratorium, can't do it, more stringent development regulations, can't do it. This is kind of preventing local governments from reacting to hurricanes because this is within, either cleared areas or within 100 miles of the path of Milton. And so this got sent to me on Friday. It was distributed by the county attorney's office. And they actually made it retroactive back to August of last year. So, they may have done that as far as regulations, they're the one jurisdiction, I don't know. But it's also effective all the way through October 1st, 2027. So, anytime we decide to start adopting more stringent regulations, whether it's development permits, site planning, comp plan changes, I'm not sure what we can do with this new law that is adopted. They curtail us tremendously.
When you say we are restricted from putting in
You couldn't put in a moratorium, remember the discussion?
a moratorium on
Yeah,
building?
the states,
Oh.
and anybody who did, this law will go back
Retroactive.
and retroactively pull them.
Oh,
It said, we may not propose or adopt any moratorium or construction, reconstruction, or redevelopment of any property damaged by such hurricane, propose or adopt more restrictive or burdensome amendments to its comprehensive plan or land development regulations, or propose or adopt more restrictive or burdensome procedures concerning review, approval, and issuance of site plan, development permits, or development orders, to the extent those terms are implied by 163 and 3164, which development order is pretty broad.
that sounds like an attack on our home rules.
And then it's all the way through October 1st, 2027.
It's all those developer, legislature guys up there, their word and more than ours is giving you.
It kind of started that with the Live Local when they were basically saying that we could not restrict or impede a developer that wanted to make
Senate Bill 180.
affordable housing.
Yeah, it's a 48-page document. If you look at sections 18 and 28, that deals with local governments, cities and counties adopting more stringent regulations. It covers a bunch of other stuff.
Could you give us kind of like a blurb that we could understand, in other words, the whole 48 pages?
Well, it addresses a lot more stuff
condensed.
And honestly, I didn't read the whole thing.
Okay.
The county attorney said look at sections 18 and 28.
Scott, what I can do is when you sent it to me, I went online, I think it was today, and found a summary from the state.
Okay.
And so
We can start to-
I'll send a summary to you all with the 48 page, in case you want something to read, but then I'll send you the summary also.
I need some, put me to sleep.
Okay.
It's just, it's a pretty restrictive regulation, we just gotta be careful. We, to adopt more stringent regulations for development. We got that restriction we got, okay.
Okay, great. Appreciate it.
As you know, during our budget time, I had spoken about the water tower being repainted, redone, and we since put on, SCADA was on there years ago, the antenna. When we went to the new water meter system, they contacted the antenna, when we had remodeling done up there to have the antenna, I believe late last year. And now our whole antenna system is built on the leg of one of the things all the way up. So we need to keep the water tower intact, keep that system up, or tear it down and put it on a, regular radio tower. Being as a landmark and everything, like we've had in the past, we've always kept it. Little history in 2000, we did the state revolving fund loan to build the water plant. We tried to keep the water tower online, couldn't do it, it didn't work out. We cut it free. We tried to give it to Pearson, Barberville, their little settlement, they couldn't take it, so we ended up reconstructing it at that point in time through the SRF loan. So it's been 23 years since it's been painted, or any kind of metal repair done to it. It needs a lot of metal repair, and then repainted and everything, the logo and all that put on there to keep it intact for our system. Plus it's our landmark. USG Water, which is now owns Utility Service Company, they've been doing our 3 hydro tanks the same way. We have it done 2016, we have them come in, they pay a certain amount per year, they revamp them, then they reduce the payment down, and we don't touch them. They repaint them, they service them, inspect them, everything for us we have to have done. That's the same thing we're gonna do here now. With this one, they call it an evergreen contract. What I've asked the commission to do is to waive the bidding process, because they've been doing all of our work and they've won every time we've had it done. There's only like 2 companies out there that do an evergreen at all. We got the first 5 payments for $27,346. I did budget that this year for the first payment. And then from year 6 on, it's $7,205. You never repainted or anything. They do everything from there on out. So you pay for the renovation. They'll do it within the first calendar year when we sign the contract. They intend to come in this summer and redo the whole thing, paint it, get it back in shape, and then they'll take care of it from then on out. Same thing we do with the hydro tank. Because you don't want to walk out and your chunks coming off right now with the tower. So either that or you'll be faced in a few years to have it removed or spend more money to get this. So that's why I'm asking tonight to go ahead and get it on a contract and get it using, because we are using it for 2 things right now.
When Burks was open, we had the buses.
Yes.
They were very acidic with what they were about.
Yeah, it was terrible with the buses.
Will that also include putting our names back up?
Yes, everything, logo and all, and then we're gonna add lights at the bottom of the feet, they're gonna shine up at night on the logo in our town, so we have that to like the rest of the town.
So you need anything additional, or is your budget covering everything?
Budget's covered this year, I'm gonna put the lights on the next budget, find out price and do that in my upcoming budget for them. No sense to put them in now when they get done retrofitting what they're gonna do, and they're gonna give us, what we need, the right lights and stuff to put it up.
Was 77,000, 7,500 you were talking about, you're gonna add that into the next?
No, it'll be 27,346 for the next 5 years.
Oh,
On year 6 and there on out, it'll be 7,200. It goes down, basically, we're doing the upfront, and then we pay that, and then we go from there out.
so that's gonna be another added on to the budget.
Yes.
And then how many years?
Until you just say, we don't want it anymore.
Oh, that's 7,000.
Yeah, it's a perpetual, so you say, hey, we don't want you doing any more things anymore, we want out, then you're on your own again. It has worked out very well for the hydro tanks. We don't have to worry about them, we haven't had to paint for them, we painted. Anything done, any structural repair,
yes and no right now?
I would like you guys to make a motion and approve it tonight so I can get on, with them, get it signed and everything. I've already had Scott look at it multiple times to make sure we were where we need to be.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a car.
Yes, Rob,
So,
before we vote,
for Scott, the motion would be to waive the permitting or the waive the bidding. Because
Well, it could be, given the limited scope of that standardization, it could be an issue. And the fact that they're doing all of our things, but also from the business and continue using. I talked a lot with Rick about that, and he feels very strongly that this is the right company to do it. They're doing all of our things, and they're very happy with our things. And so it's good to have the same company maintaining all of our things and happy with all our performances. And there's very few companies that actually do stuff.
one motion will be two motions.
Be one motion to waive formal bidding and authorize
Motion to authorize them to.
the administrator to sign the contract with whatever the company is.
Just see water now.
Yeah.
is there a motion in a second?
You called him up first.
I got a comment. Ron Parrott, 451 West Michigan. I really hope that the commission will go ahead and go through the bidding process. It's not an emergency to get this done. You're responsible for using our tax dollars at the most economical way, and this might be, but, if you look back over history, we're stuck with Waste Pro for 5 years at the highest rate in Volusia County because the commission did not bid it out. The administrator at the time didn't get bids. So we need to look for the most economical way for our citizens to help reduce our taxes. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. And the motion is on the floor?
I understand Ron's concerns and stuff, but this company's already working in town on our water tanks, and they're one of two that can do the project. So I have no problem. I make a motion that we waive the bidding process and approve the administrator to sign the contract with whatever the name of the company is. USD Water.
Is there a second? Motion is second. Okay,
Discussion.
question?
Yeah, how long have we been working with this company? And I thought that we had already gone through the process of them painting the water tower. Now they're going to paint something else.
No, they
And
didn't.
this was gonna be a perpetual thing,
No.
right, after they,
We've been working with USG, which is Utility Service Corporation, since 2016, on the 3 hydro tanks. This came about, number one, because of the putting on the water meter system on there, we have the whole
Just
one
on the
leg.
backside, yeah.
And we had them come in last year, and we did go out for a bid on that, and they wanted that bid to remediate the top, just to put the antenna on. So, I mean, they are, I can't tell you how good a company they are. They call me all the time, we come and inspect, we come inspect. They were just out there painting Linden Well, they did all repairs on it, painted and everything. Our inspections we required by DOH, they turn in the paperwork, they do all that. They're a great company, they've been a good partner with us. And like I said, I think there's only one other company out there that does it, very few that do that kind of work in there. And it's been over 20-some years since we've had anything done to it.
well, I do think that we need to get back into the bidding process, since this person has been already working since 2016.
bring up is to see if there was a consensus from the rest of the commission for staff to work with the Butler Express and Public Works on the winter decorations. I know the Butler Express put in a lot of effort last year for the Light Up Lake Helen night and raised a lot of money. We got some money in the funds, and there were some ideas thrown around about how we could execute that this year. So if there's a consensus for staff to work with those two parties and then bring back to us for review in the next meeting or two, let's say June, July, that sounds agreeable.
Sounds good. Okay. Sounds like a consensus.
Thank you very much. And then I had a question on the gentleman who was here. I can't think of his name right now. Olson. Yes.
The water?
Yes, exactly, with the water bill. And so my question, I guess, would be for city attorney and maybe city administrator. Is there action needed from us in order to remedy this, or how do we move forward? Because I was kind of under the impression that we were, with getting that police report, we were going to have to take action of some
Yeah,
sort.
the discussion in the last meeting was, he came forward and, I suggested to, one option would be for him to file a police report to give you something that would distinguish this case just from the other, somebody saying, hey, I don't know water, in case you wanted to have something to hang your hat on to the low. Staff is also going to look at, a current history of what his usage is, not just 1 month. I thought it was going to be a couple months, because there are new meters involved, you know, now that we have the accuracy of the new meters, let's see what his usage is, and that's what I think the water flow is for. And then, as Joe's pointed out, there is a policy that was adopted by the city, which gives staff the ability to work with people. This falls outside that policy. And so it needs to come back to y'all for action, once we have a couple months of data to see, okay, this is what he's average using now, and then we can bring it back to you for consideration.
Okay, I apologize, I misunderstood that interaction earlier then. So we will see him again in a month or two, once we have more information and we can make a determination.
Determination on his usage is because he's not one of the ones that had a dead meter. So the issue of his usage didn't jump because of a new meter like it did for some people. So his usage is typically, like you said, it's around $115 to $150 a month. The difference is that when he says he turned the hose off so he fixed the leak, that doesn't fall under the policy of the leak, because the hose is in the leak.
Right.
So I don't have the authority.
Right.
Listen, I would love to, but the last thing I want is all of a sudden you to find out I've been waiving people's water fees.
Right.
And I don't have any legal authority, and then somebody coming back saying, well, you did it for that one, now mine, because keep in mind, and you're gonna get a lot of folks that are gonna come up here and tell you when they get the water bills, somebody came over and turned my hose on.
Right, so,
Okay, I mean,
so is action needed in order to,
in order to adjust his bill, you all would have to, you have to give me authorization to charge him his average bill,
okay,
because I don't have that authority to do that.
then I would like to make a motion that based on the facts presented to us, and that there's a police report, he had bills from his time away, I think that it would be proper to adjust that bill to the average usage a month.
Second. I understand what you're trying to
Okay. Motion, second.
How do we know he doesn't leave it on accidentally, and didn't realize it? My water gets turned on and left on, I'm gonna file
Well,
a police report too.
It's not relieving the bill, it's gonna adjust it to his average bill.
I think, and I didn't look at the documents for what he represented, and we could confirm that, we should. He could confirm that he documented when he left. And the usage, we could document occurred like 2 days after he was gone.
Did we do that?
Yeah, I think that was information that he said he had a hotel receipt, and then based on
Did
volumes.
we read the meter to make sure that it went up in that time period?
Yeah, I think.
We
that
did?
meter, okay.
That would be Aaron.
No.
Was that?
That would be Aaron if you wanted to know what meter
She
receipt.
said,
I just remember that's what the guy said. He said, you know, the increase in flow occurred after he had documented proof that he was out of town.
oh, that's true, but did he said that. But did anybody read it to check to see if that was true? And we didn't.
I would assume there's no way that he would know that, because he would have to get that information from us. So I don't know how you can't get your own data.
Well, he could say, my meter was, you know, it was.
Yeah, I mean, it could be conditioned on proving that, you know, as a documented proof of that. I just remember him saying that.
He did get the report from the city showing when the leak occurred.
He did.
Or when the water flow occurred,
He did.
yes.
That's what I remember him saying. Did I look at it? No. I didn't look at it.
Also, one other thing I'd like to add on to that, he contacted me, it was this morning or yesterday. He had received a late bill fee, and that ended up getting waived by the city.
So do I need to amend it to the condition of staff putting their eyes on that, or make the details again?
Well, the condition's gonna be his average water usage, since it's a new meter system, it's gonna take a couple months. So his bill's gonna be sitting there waiting.
No, his, unlike people who had a dead meter, he didn't have a dead meter, so we've got a history on his usage, even though he got a new meter, the other meter that he had, there wasn't problems reading,
Oh, okay.
so we can know what his history is.
Okay.
If he was somebody with the $83 or
So he-
$86, that'd be a different process.
He still needs to come in and talk to you guys for
No, if you're approving it tonight, then.
Well, I think the idea of the discussion is they want to approve it contingent on documentation showing, proving that the usage occurred after he has documented proof he was out of town.
And then we need the copies of the police report, and all the documents together.
Did everybody get,
Don't the new mics show this one?
did everybody get the email from the city administrator today? Was it a good idea? Sorry.
We already checked
That he didn't think it was a good idea to do this because it would create problems moving forward. Did anybody get that email today?
Yes, I did get the email, I read it differently. My understanding is that this situation was different, and he doesn't have the authority to just start waiving them. That's the way I read it, so I don't want to put it in words in anyone's mouth. Maybe if you feel the need to clarify.
Now, what I will tell you is that in other cities, typically, where you see the adjustment is not on the water bill side, it's on the sewer side. Because usually your sewer charge is a multiple of your water. So when you have a leak, that water's not going back to the sewer. So, or like, similar when people fill a pool, you know, they'll let the city know, hey, I'm filling the pool, don't charge me water while I fill the pool and all these guys, don't charge me sewer. But when you use water, it goes through that meter, normally, nobody gets waived. Doesn't matter, whatever happens on the other side of the meter, it could be theft, it could be, broken lines, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter, that's on your side of the meter, but we will make an adjustment to sewer. Because you established that that was a leak and the water didn't go back to the sewer system. So, because you usually don't meter sewer, it's just based on the water flow. So that's typically what you see.
exactly when it went on and exactly when it went off. So yes, you can verify everything with the reports, what you have there, make sure the same days line up with everything. That's what the new system will do. So you'll know clear cut, if you left here, they got turned on, 2 days later, whenever it got turned on, and they come back, they turn it off that day, you can get 10 points down to the hour. We read every hour. That clarifies anything for
Do
you.
you have that motion? Okay. All in favor?
On the amendment.
On the amendment, part of the motion.
I thought that he reduced all of that up to and including that the attorney suggested that he go file a police report,
Well,
which
that-
he did. So
He,
he had everything.
but I think maybe what he had there with it, I had not put eyes on it. You know, I haven't seen the documents, I think we're talking about just verifying that what his receipt is. We can show, hey, on this date, I was at Holiday Inn in Georgia, and that's when my water turned on, and nobody, my wife went over here.
Lynn,
The motion is
Lynn,
contingent upon bringing documentation.
he never contacted City Hall, he's never provided us anything. He's never even called me.
So,
Well, forgive his mind.
I know.
I do have a question. Ricky,
is that,
he stated, the gentleman stated that it was 2 days after they had left that someone turned the water on. Can you tell with the new meter system that there's a water flow surge?
Yes. It'll
On
show
that
up,
day.
it'll show up an alarm. Yeah, we're setting up everything now, that will show up an alarm on there. It'll come up an alarm, and it'll show that high water flow, or our 55, whatever, different alarm. But you can pinpoint the day that it got turned, within the hour. Basically, when it got turned on, it'll go wide open. You'll see it ramp up, and then you'll see when they come back, when they turn it off, it'll ramp back down to normal.
So with this new system, because I can see this happening with other people possibly, will you get an alarm that all of a sudden there's a surge in water for a day or two and be able to pick it up and check
Being
on it?
said, yes, we can, but being said, that would take a person to monitor them every single day. And Aaron is very good at trying to get in there every morning. I can go on there, I try to as much as we can to monitor that. But I don't know how to say this. It's not our responsibility, but we do go in there and we do it. Because we have that ability. We've actually called people and said, hey, we've sent our guys out, hey, this thing shows a high flow, something going on. We do that, yes, we do.
You would be responsible.
But I caution you on doing anything like this, because you will open up a can of worms.
it's a precedent.
You'll set a precedent because it was a leak at a hose that was turned on. I understand you may do it here, but just be cautious of what you do when you do that, because Jim and them are right. You may set up a precedent where everybody comes in and they give you they pull a police report, and just be cautious. I understand where you're at with this one here, but it can happen.
Well, and we can also maybe look at case by case.
And that might be what you guys decide you wanna do, and that's fine, you know.
I was just wondering about your timing, what you can see, what the.
They usually read hour on hour, and I can call and demand a report from it, it'll read it, send it back, but every night at a certain time, it updates. Then we can pull from it.
Good.
And we can pull so many, like, almost 90 to 120 days, somewhere in there of reports.
So could you state that? No.
Yes.
I think the motion was that, upon documentation, that,
Upon verifying the information and collecting all of the evidence, that staff adjusts the bill to the average monthly bill.
that was the second motion.
hoping the city attorney could just walk us through it one more time. So I pulled section 7, number 5, and it says approving payment of bills and contracts at city commission meetings, and could you just clarify on there?
If you go down like 2 more sections,
No.
it says the city has to adopt a purchasing policy and procedure. So the city adopted a purchasing policy that delegated to the administrator the ability to approve contracts and within, depending on how they went through depending on the price, that they meet all the requirements. So in essence, the commission has delegated that authority to the city manager, city administrator, through the purchasing ordinance, which is also required by the charter. So you kind of have like conflicting provisions there, because if the commission should have approved every contract and every payment, well, then there's no point to have the purchasing ordinance. Because everything has to come back here. So what you're dealing with, that part about approving purchases and payments, contracts and payments, that's a relic. Everybody understands how you got your charter. This really wasn't something that was ever actually approved by the voters. This was something that was rejected. And then the legislature put in changes that the commission, back in whenever it was, wanted. And so you had provisions inserted into your charter to make you extremely close to a city manager form of government. And the adoption of the purchasing policy, that's a city manager form of government. So you have now conflicting provisions in your charter about how that works. But so many of the other provisions in there, you just pretty much mirror the city manager form of government. And even in some ways, it's much broader because most cities don't designate their administrator manager also their planner. Our charter does. But there's other, I pointed out other conflicting provisions in there. I mean, arguably, we have 4-year terms. We don't have 2-year terms. I can make that argument very easily. You look at that part of the charter. So there's just very conflicting provisions in there. So you try to read these together. Yeah, the old charter said the commission had to approve everything. Nothing got paid until the commission approved it. Then a provision got added that said the commission has to adopt the purchasing ordinance. You've adopted the purchasing ordinance and delegated basically up to $10,000 contract to be awarded, by the administrator, administered by the administrator. Over that has to be awarded by y'all. But then when you go through, could you change your purchasing ordinance? Sure. Your purchasing ordinance. But there's a practical side. Are you going to bring back every single bill or just paid for y'all to approve? I don't think that's the intent when you have a purchasing ordinance and policy manual that you've adopted and delegated. So you have to amend everything and undelegate that authority.
Thank you for restating that. I know it's just a little new, and I want to make sure that we're all having that explained. Appreciate that. I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Today is a day that is celebrated all across the nation and Europe and other countries. It's VE Day, which was Victory in Europe Day. That was when World War II ended in Europe. We were still fighting the Japanese until we get to Veterans Day in November, when the Japanese finally done their documentation. So today is VE Day. The next day, well, besides the Police Memorial Day coming up on the 15th, honoring our police officers that died in the line of duty. Then we have Memorial Day coming up on the 26th, I believe. We're going to have the Veterans Day car show, the flyover from the plane, and we got 2 trumpeters that are going to be there, so we're going to do echo taps. If anybody has ever heard that, it is a wonderful sounding here. And then Vaughn talked about the poppies and everything. That came from World War I, when a general from the British Army was leaving the battlefield with his group and going back to the safe area to give his troops a break. And and they passed this field called Flanders Field, which they had fought on a couple weeks earlier. And in that field was a blanket of red poppy flowers all across the field. It's the only flowers that bloom so quick. And so he came up with a poem called On Flanders Field. And that's where the poppies were adopted to honor the veterans who died in the wars. And so we have the poppies coming out. And since May is honoring veterans, I want to honor multiple veterans. The only black all-female unit to serve in Europe during World War II, commonly known as the 6th 888, was honored Tuesday, April 29th with the Congressional Gold Medal following a long-running campaign to recognize their efforts. The 6th 888 Central Postal Directory Battalion was credited with solving a growing male crisis during its stint in England, and upon their return, serving as the role model to generations of black women who joined the military. They cleared out a backlog of about 17 million pieces of mail in 3 months, twice as fast as what was projected. The battalion would go on to serve in France before returning home, and like many black units during World War II, their exploits never got attention afforded their white counterparts until now. At a ceremony in a Emancipation Hall in the U.S. Capitol's Visitor Center, House Speaker Mike Johnson presented the medal to the family of the unit commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charity Adams Gurley. More than 300 descendants of the women who served in the battalion were present in the crowd. The ceremony reflects one of the highest and most cherished traditions of our republic, one that's roots strength back all the way to General George Washington, Johnson said in remarks at the event. So that's the military once that honored them. On April 30th, we had a workshop to discuss our employees and what needed to be done. I came to Jim's office a few days ago, about a week ago, and said I would like permission to use the city symbol to make some presentations to give to our volunteers and our city employees. He said, well, you'll need to probably go to the commission to be able to do it. So I would like the commission's approval to be able to do it. And it wouldn't cost the city nothing. I would finance the thing and provide it to the volunteers. In the process, I says, well, let's recognize them a little bit better than that. So I came up with the Employee of the Month, Volunteer of the Month, Employee of the Year, Volunteer of the Year program. And this highlights monthly. It comes through the recommended criteria to use to evaluate the employee. And the Employee of the Month recognition program is implemented to recognize our outstanding employees. The program highlights and celebrates our team members' outstanding contributions and fosters a culture of appreciation and motivation. Regularly recognizing employees boosts morale, encourages healthy competition, and enhances productivity, strengthens team cohesion, and improves employee retention. These employee awards contribute to a more engaged and dedicated and high-performance workforce by acknowledging individual achievements and supporting career development. So it's got 10 recommended things that they go through. It's also recommended that one member from each department be formed as a committee to review all the letters that are submitted for people to receive this award. And the award can be given to an employee, a supervisor. I think that's all the paid guys we got, employee, supervisor. And it can be submitted from fellow employees, supervisors, elected officials, and the public. So if you see one of our employees out there doing something that you really like what they're doing, or they're doing something that you think is official or innovative, send the city administrator an email. That way it is documented and it be helped in the crew determining who these are. Presenting of the awards would be, the committee would meet at the end of the month at which a nomination is made, or at the beginning of the following month, which would allow for the announcement at the commission meeting, and should be presented by all city elected officials. The employee of the month would be given a certificate honoring their accomplishment and have their picture posted in City Hall's main hall. This would also become part of their public employment record. Volunteer of the month follows pretty much the same guidelines determined, except that it would not include anybody that is remunerated. Nobody that's received pay for doing it wrong would be considered a volunteer. But it does opening up for our two committees. Our PLDRC and our HPB would be eligible for because they are volunteer committees. So they would be eligible to receive the Volunteer of the Month award. And then anybody who works at a city event would also be included in this. The committee, though, comprised would be a little bit different. It would be a member from each of our boards and 2 members of the community to create an evaluation team to choose the volunteer to be honored. Develop a scoring system to grade recommendations. It can't be as simple as scoring 1 through 3 or 1 through 5 at each criterion. And the volunteer at the highest score should be selected the Volunteer of the Month. They would also be recommended at the commission meeting, so their meeting would have to be in time to be able to be at the following commission meeting for the month that they're being awarded for. And then for the Employee and Volunteer of the Year, I made a recommendation that we do it on either a fiscal or a calendar year basis. That's a decision the commission would have to make. Fiscal year would make it either October and November, when we'd either have a luncheon or a dinner in the employees and volunteers honor. And then the yearly one would make it either January or February that we do it in. They would be, the Employee and Volunteer of the Year would be chosen from the monthly winners following the final selection of the Employee of the Month and the Volunteer of the Month for the respective calendar year. The respective winners of the yearly award will be kept confidential until announced at an appreciation luncheon or dinner. The Employee of the Year and Volunteer of the Year should be presented with a certificate, a trophy, and their picture at City Hall main lobby, acknowledging their accomplishment. All monthly winners should be announced at the presentation before the announcement of the yearly finalists. This is going to end up being a budget item because for us to put on a luncheon or a dinner, it's probably going to cost us about $8,000. I think that's what we did for the League of Cities dinner.
Can we do it a lot cheaper than that?
Well, you'd have to have a facility. But we would be able to go and maybe go to a restaurant and get donations also from the restaurant for the foods and stuff like that, and from different companies around town that would donate to help cover the cost of the awards and stuff. So it wouldn't be that much expensive for the city, but I would like for us to approve this program, and whatever tweaks and everything the committees come up with that needs to be adjusted to it would be fine. But I think it's something that we need to do to recognize our people in the community and our workers who work for us.
My only thing with that is that we have such a small amount of employees, it's just gonna be constantly recycling through. That's my only thing.
Well, that's where the determination of, does it include contracted employees? Would it include contracted employees like Karen? She's a contracted employee.
Do y'all keep a lot of the volunteers' hours
3 times in that meeting that this commissioner was the catalyst of the meeting. 2 other people brought it to the attention that the meeting was about me, and that I knew that it was about me, and I shouldn't sit here and act like it wasn't. I have never, in all my life, been spoken to or demeaned without the support of what everybody was talking about, a team. Therefore, I felt like, no, how do you expect me to be a team member here? But I want to talk about communication. My husband does not speak to me in the manner that I was spoken into that night. I'm just looking at you, don't get, no accusations here, okay? Don't start shaking your head, I'm not pointing anything at you. My husband doesn't speak to me that way. My own father never spoke to me that way. I was raised in a civil household where we respect each other, we work together. It made no difference. The boys had to do the girls' work, I was the only girl. A lot of times I got to do a lot of the boys' work. There was not one commissioner that stood up and actually made a statement when wrongdoing was occurring and accusations were being thrown at me like baseballs. It was written in the Beacon that the city clerk, CA, said that he would not work with before duly sworn in commissioners. I am a duly sworn in commissioner. It's a little hard, and I would like to explain, when I used the term lame duck, that was not in a political sense. It was more of a slang, because I was put in a position to either be made weak, needing support, and I got none from people who wanted me to concede that I was part of a team that they obviously didn't want me a part of. I hope this never happens again. It certainly is a violation of charter. I've got it here to prove it. I hope none of you sitting here tonight ever has to go through being bashed by a board of people who don't even know who you are, what you do, what you stand for, what your moral characters are. It's absolutely insane. Or to be accused of supposedly being a person that did HR. There's no supposedly to that. I literally was an HR person for 45 years. So to make accusations in that manner it's infantile. It's either fact or it's not. But people don't seem to know how to communicate. So my suggestion is, if anybody wants to go back and review the recording on communications, there's a lot of communication classes. I'm sure that Ms. Reed is aware of them since she has HR background. There's a lot of communication classes, and I think a lot of people need to take them, starting with department chiefs all the way down. Never have I been in a situation sitting in a room of professionals that now I am really wondering, is that what I'm sitting with? I'm not going anywhere. I have strong shoulders. I can take a lot. This isn't the first round that I've ever fought. And I'll be here until the citizens tell me they don't want me. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the next zone. But I hope that all of you think
there's somebody in the city of Lake Helen is lining their pockets with all of the taxpayers' money that we're having to send out. Well, it was finally said in my face at a derby party the other night. Who's lining their pockets down there? I had to laugh, because there is no lining, there's no money to line with. So, my thing, just like people that want to jump out there and accuse people of being thieves or whatever, please take time to look at our budget and see just how much it costs to run a city. Because if you look at how much the police department costs by itself, how much public works costs by itself, how much cable, internet, phone service, water, power, everything in the city, there is no lining for any pockets left. And actually, at the rate we're going, if we keep it up, we're probably going to have to become county, which I hope would happen before Deltona or DeLand, because we cannot sustain ourselves. Because apparently we're stealing all the money. So, I hope the people that are saying this are listening, or at least watch the video. Because take 30 minutes to educate yourself, please. That's all I got.
On the, oh, Roger was trying to make a motion.
Oh.
I was taking a breather break and then on to you.
You turned it over to me and I followed the mayor, so whatever.
I didn't go anywhere. You didn't go on me.
Well, I make a motion that we adopt an employee volunteer recognition program. This can be a guide.
We have a motion to adopt a employee program. Do we have a second?
Discussion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, thank you. I tend to agree with Commissioner Bishop. I think that this is going to be cycling itself around. We don't have that many employees. We do also nominate employees in the city for the leader cities. He's been there. He went there the night that he got an award. I do believe that citizens or the employees should receive some type of compensation, be it based on special projects, things like that. It's very difficult to get from what they're doing on a day-to-day basis to say, we're just gonna nominate this person as being the best, because I really don't know. That doesn't fall in our purview. That's up to the CA to allocate the work. Do I think they're doing a great job? Yeah, certainly I do. But I'm not to the point that I think that we're at a time, especially now, to make a decision on something like that.
I really thank you, Roger, for putting this together. I think it is tremendous, and we are off to a great start. I'm not prepared to vote on it just yet. There are some modifications that I'd like to see, and I'd like to really take time to digest it before voting on something so important. But I do want to thank you, because I can tell there was a lot of thought put into this, and then on the heels of, the last workshop, it's nice to see we're doing something to the positive, so thank you.
Well, also remember the motion was that we adopt an employee volunteer recognition program. And this would be a guide. So, I mean, if you want to we can adopt the program and then you can digest this and
like tonight, Kelly got me real good, got me up here to say cheese, and I don't like taking pictures, but anyways, you know, just for her. But I'm a type of person, I think me and my husband both are, we don't want the recognition. We just like being in a community that does things together, to promote us, to keep us who we are. And, I remember years ago, we used to do Pioneer Days. And all of our communities would get together, we'd do potluck, we'd make banners, wear funny hats, sit around and talk about stories or whatever, and just go around each other and shake everybody's hand, you know? And, if we came up with ideas that city commission needed to deal with, and we'd talk about it Pioneer Days or bring it up to a meeting. But, I'm not in favor of giving anybody any special recognition unless they're truly considered some kind of legend in our town. And then that person needs to be recognized somehow or another. You know, an elder, somebody that's loved Lake Helen their whole lives, not nobody new, coming here doing all this, but a legend in our town.
You're a legend, Vaughn.
No,
And to that note, not only do we have a very small number of employees, but we got a lot of people that are legends. One of them I'll name, Miss Janetta Redmond. Miss Redmond will be 99 years old tomorrow. Her family is going to have something over at the Melissa Park on Saturday, on Monday at 2 o'clock. It's a family kind of thing. But that, acknowledging this woman who's been, her mother lives in the house she's living in now. Very few of you even know or see her. I see her every other day. I bring her cherries because she finds that when she eats the cherries have some sort of it takes a pea. A cherry. I bought her a cherry tree. I hope she's around for it to bloom. But when we take citizens' little things that they have, Super Memorial is full of Lake Helen citizens that have done more than this town can ever recognize before. How about us all going out there and showing that's a kind of a display that has more worth and more value to it than $8. Because there's a certain segment of our community who don't think that we care too much about them. We can prove them wrong. We do care about them. Matter of fact, most of us, for a lot of reasons, wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. But we don't talk about them. They're like the invisible people around here. So, I'm in favor of acknowledging, I know we both, you and I both nominated Ricky for Employee of the Year, and that was for the entire county. He won one of those, two of those. He won. So I think we got a lot to do with each other that can get more traction and more yardage out of being part of my expressions to feel that you've been put upon by your fellow commissioners who did not support you. I don't feel that way. I feel that way because I've said it. You can make funny faces if you want.
I'm not, it's just smile.
I love you. Didn't I tell you
I
that?
love you, the same.
I told you the same thing. by yourself. So-
The idea is out there and it may come up in the
And
future again.
it's a seed.
Somebody may bring it back.
It's a seed that gets planted that makes it work. Good night, everybody. Don't forget, Miss Redmond, we have an address, she's right on the corner of Long Island. Thank you very much.
Roxanne.